This week on NWP, so many games!
So many stairs!
Computer, set a sexy course for the sexiest year. 69, 69. I got my space here. And money comes to space me. Crosses through to a fucking wormhole beyond the Milky Way. Shit's far to a time of birth so far in the future where everyone gets laid. Twice as hard. Noble knights of honor on a fierce and sultry but crusade.
Hello everyone and welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 169. Nice. I'm Julian. I'm joined as always by Justin.
I'm here. I played video games. That's all I did, pretty much. Yeah.
That's all you ever do.
I mean, you're not wrong. That's not entirely true.
Oh, I'm sorry. You watched Boogie Pop Phantom.
I watched a bunch of animes during that, actually. But a lot of them I didn't talk about because they aren't worth talking about. But
okay.
Yeah, I watched.
Dude, I would be down to talk some anime tonight because I've been watching some hella anime lately.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about Boogie Pop Phantom, then it'll come up. I'll bring it up. I can't remember.
All right.
What was I'll think of it.
Yes, so this episode, we got some stuff to take care of beforehand, but this episode is going to be one of our patented all Consumption Junction episodes, because we were on hiatus for a really long time, and last episode was our Game of the Year episode, so we really haven't had a chance to talk about the plethora of games that we played since we broke at the end of last year. Broke for hiatus, not broke it. Well, no, I kind of broke, just metaphorically as well.
Well, Death Stranding will do that to you.
Oh, hush, hush. Although I got to say real quick, it's fun listening back to that last episode because I asked you and Patrick to explain to me why you love Nier and you still didn't do it. I'm listening back and I'm like, all right, so the story's bad and the characters are bad and the gameplay's not great.
No,
okay.
The story is good to me. I like the story. That's why I like it. Like, that's why I like that game. I like
the way that you said it in the episode was like.
No, yeah, I basically said I can understand why you didn't like it, especially because hearing it now, basically what happened to you and Nier happened to me in Death Stranding, where at some point I stopped enjoying the game and it just turned me off of everything about it. Yeah. And you had that super early with Nier, I totally understand. If you're not vibing with any the things in the game and you're just forcing yourself through it, it's going to make you hate it even more. And that's what happened to me at Death Stranding. The first time I quit and I said something about it on the podcast is where I should have stopped playing that game, because I would have been yeah, it's an okay game, but after forcing myself through the second half, and I was just I hate everything about this now. I just can't stand it. And I was just every little dumb thing that would happen would just be times 10, because I'd be why would you, anyway.
I will say to any listeners who listened to the Game of the Year episode and then decided, hey, I kind of want to try out Death Stranding. If you did that, and you hated it, I'm sorry, but I did warn you. I did hella warn you.
Yeah,
so
I warned you too. So
yeah, but we've got some actual stuff. I actually wrote down notes for this episode. And I never write down notes for our episodes. It's always by the seat of my pants.
What are you, me?
I guess. But we actually do have quite a bit of business to take care of before we get into the Consumption Junction-y part of the episode. First off, I didn't mention it when we came back, but the Great Game Giveaway is coming back this year.
Hooray.
But it's not going to be a monthly contest anymore because Julian needs to save some money, y'all, and Great Game Giveaway is expensive. So I think we're probably going to do it once a quarter for it's going to be for the biggest games of the year instead of because there were definitely some months with last year where it's these aren't really great games.
There's a few stinkers in there.
Yeah.
There was the Warhammer one. Yeah, that one.
I mean, I liked that game, but it's Yeah,
Yeah,
like I would have
I'm just
preferred to
saying.
win that in a contest than actually
That's
pay
true.
$60
That's
for
true.
it.
Yeah. If you're gonna play it, yeah.
Yeah. Having said that, I actually do have a great game giveaway to announce right now because a friend of the show and actually personal friend of mine, Ryan Dennis, who also worked with me back in Game Fellas, he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I have this digital code for Yoshi's Crafted World, and if you want to like give it away on the show, it's yours." And I said, "Sure." And he thought that it would be a great one to do for February because it's a cooperative game and it's a good game for lovers. Although I've also heard it's a little bit like New Super Mario Brothers, where it might put your relationship to the ultimate test if you're playing it that way. But
I don't know.
yeah, we'll be doing that for this episode and the next one. If you are new to the show or you haven't participated in one of the giveaways, the way it works is that you can go to Twitter and find us at NWPcast, like and retweet the episode posts. That gives you 2 entries. There will be a secret code phrase uttered at some point during this episode. If you DM that to us on Twitter, then that gives you a 3rd entry. Do that again for the episode after this, and that gives you 6 entries. And if you do all 6, then we give you a bonus 7th entry, completing your Infinity Gauntlet and maximizing your number of entries into the contest. So be sure to keep an ear out for the secret code phrase. It's, again, if you're new to the show, it's super obvious when it comes in. Like, you really can't miss it.
Yeah.
Except maybe if you're Joe Mike Stepp, because he totally misses them sometimes. He's like, I don't know how I missed that.
I mean, I get yelled at every now and then if I sneak them in. So, like, yeah, we make them super obvious.
Yes. So yeah, look forward to that. Also, next episode will be, well, it's not going to be a complete normal format. I think we're not going to bring Cage Match back next episode. That'll probably be the episode after. But we will be bringing Stage Select back next episode. And it is my turn for the Stage Select. And, all right, look, like, it's a super simple one. It's a super obvious one. I want to know your top 3 games of the last decade. But listen, people, it's a decade. It's 10 years. It spans 2 generations. There's multiple portables in there. It's a long period of time.
Right.
Now, you know, I'm not going to judge your list, but if all of your games were from the last 2 or 3 years, like, I'm going to take exception to your list. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to make fun of you, but I'm going to make fun of you.
I mean, a lot of people like some of the stuff that came out this generation, and so
they do. I'm just saying, let's like really think about this
Right.
and take the whole, because this is top 3 games. You got to rank them. It's 3, 2, 1, and there are no. You can't Patrick this, okay? There are no. You can't pick a bajillion like runners ups. Like, it's 3 games ranked. And yeah, I know it's super obvious and I know it's super cliche, but hey, listen, get off my back. You try hosting a podcast for 8 years, goddammit. See how ingenious you are with what the topics that you come up with.
It's not easy.
I'm sorry.
It's not easy.
I'm sorry.
sometimes.
I didn't mean to snap at you like that. I'm just, look, it's, I'm tired, y'all.
We're all a little tired. It happens.
Yes. But then another announcement, we have moved our recording days to Fridays instead of Wednesdays now.
Yes.
The show will still be coming out on Wednesdays, but this gives you 2 extra days to submit comments and entries for Stage Select and Cage Match and Great Game Giveaway and all that good stuff. So we are going to want your Stage Select picks by 8:30 Central Time on February 21st. That will be the next time that we are recording. And then one last bit of information, or one last bit of business, but it's a big bit. We messed up last episode.
We sure did.
Yeah, we missed a couple listener top lists for the year.
Indeed.
And so I didn't want to like exclude those since I realized it right after we recorded.
Yep, me too.
Yeah. So Justin, why don't you take the one that we have from Twitter, and then I have one that was texted to me.
All right. Yeah, Julian and I were basically using the same cutoff point in our Twitter messages. I know exactly how it happened.
Yes.
And we totally skipped over Mr. Blaine Fea here. He is at Blaine Fea on Twitter. And he says, just saw your post, and I'm glad you guys are back. My number 3 would be Kingdom Hearts 3. Not as great as I was hoping, but boy did I almost tear up in Toy Story World, and You Got a Friend in Me started playing. Number 2 was Diablo 3. Got it because Julian kept talking about it, and boy, oh boy, do I agree with everything he said. The numbers always get bigger. And number 1 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This game got its teeth in me and hasn't let go. I've almost 100%ed that bad boy and freaking loved every minute of it. Most definitely in my top 10 of all time. Wow. Possibly top 5. Wow.
Holy shit.
Just a great game that I am all about. That's impressive. That's impressive.
That is impressive. That is on the short list of games that I want to play from last year that I haven't gotten around to yet.
Yeah.
I'm definitely waiting for a sale because I'm not as into Star Wars as I used to be, and I'm still not like sold on the whole like Dark Souls style gameplay.
That's exactly what kind of puts me off of that game is the Dark Souls stuff and the fact that it's Star Wars. And I've watched a little bit of it and and also like seeing a bit of the jankiness with my own eyes when people play it is kind of like, oh, that looks gross. But like, I'm glad people like it though. A lot of people like it, not just Blaine. Like a lot of people like that game, so yeah, that's great. I'm glad they finally made a good Star Wars game that people are happy with. Like
Justin,
yeah,
let me see the jankiness with my own eyes.
Yeah, sure. Is that a line from a thing?
That is.
Okay, is that from the prequels? Because I don't remember.
No, dude, that's Return of the Jedi, man. That's when Darth Vader dies.
What is it? Oh,
my cousin and I used to always joke about it.
Okay, yeah, when he's okay. It's been years.
Well, that's fair. Like we always used to make fun of that line because we would always like super exaggerate when we would say it. So we would just say with my own eyes, and it's just a thing. It's like a childhood thing.
Now I see why that stuck with you and not with me.
Yeah. No, but I do got to say, Blaine, I'm really happy that you picked up Diablo 3 because you've heard me raving about it for all this time.
Yes.
Those numbers sure do get bigger, and it's funny because friend of the show, John Golson, bought it on a sale for PlayStation, and we actually played online. And I was like, oh no. I'm back on my bullshit, aren't I? Because I could feel it. I was like, oh, it's happening. Because I went from so the thing is that I no longer had like a save or a clear save on this PS4 because I've now upgraded twice, and so I had to start from the beginning, which means okay, well, like I don't remember because I don't know if you can just jump into someone's game if you haven't beaten it if you haven't completed the act.
Okay.
That you're on. I'm not sure about that, but he was on I think he was still on Act 1. Or no. Well, I'm sorry. He was on Act 2.
Okay.
But we played through Act 1, while together. And I got my character from level 1 to level 32 or something just in that short of a play time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, it's starting again. But then he kind of just went and beat the game without me. I was like, okay.
Nice.
He never I thought he was going to call me to play again. And he didn't, but I was like, oh man. And then I was cause I'm still trying to get all the achievements on the 360 or on the Xbox version. I was kind of hovering over and I'm like, ooh, should I? There's other things to play, Julian. There's other things to play. You got to pace yourself.
There's a lot of games, man. There's a lot of games.
There are a lot of games, but man, yeah, I love me some Diablo.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Diablo's a good game.
Yeah. And then last but certainly not least, friend of the show and former NWP co-host Rob O'Tone had texted me, and this is ages ago. This is way back, while we were on hiatus, right when we started hiatus. And he actually sent a top 5 because of the time, I was saying we were probably going to do top 5. And we did that for the hosts. But, he's an ex-host.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it's fine.
Yeah.
That counts.
So he says, my games of the year for what they're worth, which isn't much. Number 5, Layers of Fear. Number 4, Overwatch, which, Rob has attended actual Overwatch League matches live.
That's
He's hardcore.
That is hardcore. That is way hardcore. That is into the game. So yeah.
Number 3 is Stardew Valley, which is a game that I keep debating on picking up or not. I'm not sure if I would like it, but
I've tried Harvest Moon way back in the day, and I couldn't get super into it. Maybe that one would be for me. I can marry people, so that's a thing. That would be fun. I like romance options. maybe I should try it. I have a really good idea for a farming game that I have to save for a stage select somewhere down the line that I really want to make happen now. But anyway, but yeah, maybe
Fair
one of
enough.
these days I'll try Stardew Valley myself. It seems like it's probably my kind of game, but then again, okay. All right. Here's something I did over the break. I spent a good week making my own weed farm on The Sims. Because that's a thing you can do with mods, and I was selling all the weed and getting raided by the cops, and it was fun. I had a good time doing it, so maybe I would like a farming simulator. Who are we kidding? Yeah, I probably would.
His number 2 is The Outer Worlds. He actually, it was funny because he got Game Pass because of the way we've been talking about it. And of course, Outer Worlds is on Game Pass, and so he played it. And he actually held the spoiler cast until he was done.
Nice.
Playing through the game. So I appreciate that, Rob. And then his number 1 is Avon Colony, which I have never heard of, and I meant to look up and I didn't. And I was hoping that maybe you had heard of it.
No.
AVEN Colony.
I imagined it is a colony. I'm gonna guess what it's about, and you tell me if I'm right. You look it up, and we'll go from there. So it's about birds. They're in a colony. One of them's name is Jeff the bird. He likes to throw rocks at other birds, and all the other birds are like, "Hey, don't throw those rocks, Jeff. It's a bad thing to do." And then basically the story evolves into a psychological horror because he hits one of the birds very, very hard with a rock, and their head explodes, and nobody sees it coming. Am I in the ballpark? Is it just?
I mean, you're close.
Okay.
But it's actually an multi-level marketing simulator.
Oh.
You play an Avon seller, and you get your products from the Avon distribution center.
Okay.
And you recruit other people to sell Avon with you.
Oh.
And then they get their stuff from the Avon seller, and then you never actually make any money, and they never actually make any money, but someone's getting rich. You just don't know exactly who.
Is that the actual game?
No. But looking at screenshots, it's definitely like a futuristic, world building sim.
Oh, okay. All right.
So think like a super futuristic looking SimCity type thing.
Oh, that sounds kind of neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably it might have grand strategy type elements, and that could be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't tell if it's a 4X style. It looks more of just like a city simulating type thing.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. I'll definitely look into it if he's high on it like that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, he turned me on to Frostpunk, which was added to Game Pass, and we'll get into it. But okay, so here's what I want to do. I wrote down, and part of this is just me tooting my own horn, but also it'll dictate how we actually structure the show.
Okay.
So I wrote down all the games that I played since the break in order, ranked by how much I played, basically.
Okay.
What I'll ask you to do is you pick the ones that you want to hear me talk about, and I'll do the same because I know you've probably done the same type of thing. And we'll just kind of pick and choose the ones we really want to hear about. And then listeners, if we mentioned anything that we don't talk about that you want us to talk about next episode, just throw it in the comments and we'll do it that way.
Oh, okay.
But also I just really wanted to get praise for all of the stuff that I did while we were on hiatus.
Say, man,
because
I don't think anybody will hold it against you if you talk about everything. It's fine.
It's a lot of shit. And also, but also some of the stuff we talked about in depth in the Game of the Year episode.
That stuff is probably we could probably skip that because I know I skipped I don't have Death Stranding, and that was one of the things I played over our break or whatever.
Right.
So
yeah, more. This is more just because since Justin finishes 15 games between every episode.
Yeah.
And I usually don't finish any games between recording episodes.
You definitely did some catching up. You were there was a certain tweet that Julian made. I've finished all these games. Justin's over here playing The Sims. I was but I beat most of the games you just mentioned already. I don't need to go back and play them again.
So yes. So games that I finished during the break were Devil May Cry 5, which was recommended to me by the listeners. I did a poll.
Okay.
Death Stranding, which we talked about.
Yeah.
After Party.
Okay.
Life is Strange 2.
Okay.
Sayonara Wild Hearts, finished Judgment,
Okay.
and then I played almost the entirety of Fire Emblem Three Houses again, which again we talked about. I
Interesting.
got to the next to last battle and got into a fail state, just
Nice.
couldn't finish it. And then I tried but didn't get super deep into Frostpunk, Metro Exodus, Children of Morta. Which it's funny because I almost bought that game like 3 times during the like holiday sales, and they just added to Game Pass. I'm so glad that I didn't
Yeah,
pull
good
the
job.
trigger on it.
Good job.
Not because it's a bad game, just because like, hey, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If you can play a game for free, why wouldn't you play a game for free? Like,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. Well, not for
And
free.
then Vambrace Cold Soul is another one that I tried. And then the last one I don't really kind of want to talk about on this episode because it's going to be what I'm talking about the next few episodes, which is Dragon Quest XI, because I am now
Okay.
like 30 something hours into it. I was like 15 when I came back to it a couple weeks or like a week ago.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to finish that one by the time Doom Eternal comes out at the end of March, since I'm not, since Final Fantasy VII got delayed. And I was like, well, got enough time to squeeze this in here, I think. This 100-something hour RPG.
Right on. So out of all the games you mentioned there, the one that kind of I was interested in hearing you talk about because I'm wondering what you thought of it was After Party.
Cool.
Because I played it and I was like, yeah, this is all right. That was kind of my impression of it.
Yeah. I really want to talk about Devil May Cry 5 because the listeners,
Absolutely, yeah, go
recommended
for
it to
it.
me.
Yeah, I know you have some strong feelings about Devil May Cry 5.
yeah. And I do want to like finish thoughts on Judgment.
I was gonna say you can talk about whatever you want. I don't think, and Frostpunk is a game I played a little. I think I probably played about as much as you did. Like I'm not even like I didn't get super into that game, but I thought it was interesting.
Do you play a lot of those sim type games
Not
besides The Sims?
depends. Not a whole lot of them. They have to like get recommended from somewhere, and then I have to take a look at them and like find them interesting. I don't like go out of my way to play those kinds of games. Frostpunk, I remember it got battered around by I think Giant Bomb like when it came out. I was like, all right, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, this seems kind of neat. And this was like when it came out, so
Right.
a year or something ago. I thought it was fine, but I kind of quickly got bored with it. I was kind of like, yeah, I feel like I've seen most of what this game has to offer. I'm sure there's like more stuff that happens in it, and it was interesting making children work because fuck them. that was my whole thing. I was like, these kids gotta work. Put them in the mines, they'll be fine. And they're like, the kids died, and everybody hates you now. I'm like, oh well.
I don't give a fuck about your kids.
Gotta make the heater go. It's very important we make this heater go, guys. It's very important. But yeah, I wasn't super high on it, but like I didn't think it was a bad game by any stretch. It just wasn't like what I was looking for at the time, if that makes sense. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I find it wasn't what I was looking for at the time. I liked it, but I find games like this to be like really overwhelming. And also, like, I don't know, and again, this is why I wanted to ask, and maybe Rob, I mean, I'm sure Rob will tell me after he hears this, but
Yeah.
I get the impression that it's a game where you have to kind of, like, restart it over and over, because, like, I started it, and I did the tutorial, and, like, instantly I was like, I'm playing this completely wrong.
Yeah,
And so I started over, and I was like, okay, this is getting better, but then I was like, wait, I don't think that I laid out, I think I don't understand how to actually, like, build the city out.
Right.
And so that I was messing up on there. But at that point, I was like, I had kind of stopped. I was like, okay, I think if I play this again, I'm going to have to start again
yeah.
with what I know and just kind of like slowly, basically, like not just build up the city better every time, but also just my knowledge of how the game works.
Right. Yeah, no, I had the exact same issue, actually, now that you mention it, because I remember I played through, I think, like the intro or tutorial or whatever, realized I screwed up pretty quickly,
Yeah.
started a new game, played it again, did better that time. I feel like it's one where you're like doomed for a while until you learn exactly what you need to do to make sure you don't die and all that stuff. It's kind of that type of game. I'd be interested to see where it went and like if it's just like, hey, eventually it gets really, really good and so on and so forth. But I don't know. Like the restarting thing was kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I need to do this right now.
Yeah.
But that was a year or so ago, and like I said, it was just at the time I probably wasn't feeling it as much as something else on the table. Who knows what it was?
Definitely.
I don't remember.
Well, Justin, what do you have? And then we'll kind of hash out this episode live.
Okay, well, I guess you want all my games. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, so I'm not going to talk about this one, but I have Death Stranding on my list, and it's not. I don't even have notes for it because we've beaten that game to death at this point.
Yeah.
But basically, the only reason I have it here is because like it kind of actively turned me off of playing games for a little bit. So I was just like, I just don't feel like playing anything now. Like I'm just so turned off of things. But like while I was playing that, to get through it, I had to like play an hour of it, stop, and then play Puzzle Fighter because Puzzle Fighter is still a really good game.
Dude, it's funny you bring that up because work has been like a living game of Puzzle Fighter for me lately, where I think I'm doing really well, and then they just drop a bajillion gems on top of me.
Oh,
it's like every day, and it is soul crushing. Justin,
it
hurts.
Be dropping the gems, my friend. I'm pretty. That is one game where I feel pretty confident in. Like usually, what ended up happening was I think I was watching like Giant Bomb's like Game of the Year. Like they had some sort of like little competition thing. It was like a fun little deal they did. And I was watching it, and one of the like events they had was Puzzle Fighter, and I was like, God, these guys suck at Puzzle Fighter. I was like, God, I can do so much better. Can I buy Puzzle Fighter anywhere? And I had to you have to go through hell and high water to find that thing on Xbox. It's like a whole pain in the ass. They don't actually like have it listed in like the backwards compat stuff, even though that's where you buy it at. Like you have to like type in Puzzle Fighter. It's not Super Puzzle Fighter or anything like that. You have to type in like just Puzzle Fighter and it comes up. But I eventually found it. I was like, thank God. And I was playing Puzzle Fighter, and that was what calmed me down in between Death Stranding. And the other game from Puzzle Fighter, I was like, well, I'm into these puzzle games as a break from Death Stranding. I should get one on the PlayStation 4 so I don't have to switch between them. And I got Tetris Effect. And I do want to talk about that because I don't want to talk much about it, but I got a thing to say.
Sure.
After that, after I got over my slump, if you will, after Death Stranding, I played through Horizon Zero Dawn. That was a good one. I played this one I have to talk about, because it actively makes me mad, and I think people like to hear me get angry at times. Coffee Talk. That's a game I played.
Okay. I watched a bit of the quick look on that, and I was like, "This seems like a Justin Ask Justin game." But as watching the quick look, I was like, "This isn't really doing anything for me."
I got some things to say about that game that I don't know if people are gonna like. What's the other one I have? I've been recently been playing through Saints Row 3 again. And then the other one that I definitely have to talk about. Oh, there's two other ones I have to talk about. One as a promise to our listeners, and one because I think it's a really good game. The good game is Kentucky Route Zero. That game is amazing. And the last one, as a promise to our listeners, is a really bad game. I don't know if I even want to spoil what it is, but it's a really bad game.
Justin, you don't have to do this to yourself. I'm telling you.
Oh no,
it's okay.
It's hilarious. Trust me. You have no idea how much fun it is to laugh at this shit.
Well, I will say I'm dying to talk to you about Horizon.
Okay.
Because I haven't really been able to talk to anybody who finished that game. But to that end, let's put that at the end of the episode, because I want to go full spoilers. And that way, if somebody, because, the PC version just got announced. So there's definitely going to be people who are wanting to pick it up for the first time. So that way, if people are planning on playing it, they can just check out early from the episode and come back to it later if they want. Because I really want to go deep on that, almost like we did with Death Stranding, because I've got so many feelings from that game that I couldn't really communicate at the time without spoiling the shit out of the game. Yeah,
that's good. I have a lot of good stuff about it. I definitely have criticisms. For sure.
Absolutely.
But I'm hoping you remember a lot more than I do. I know I just played it a month ago, and I do remember it, but There's something about when like I play a game, like if it's like a month later and I don't talk about it, I instantly forget certain like little details. I'm like, oh shit. Like I was writing my notes for this episode. I was like, oh fuck, I've forgotten a lot of stuff about this game already. I remember what I like my criticisms and the bad things I didn't like about it. I didn't hate them, but I didn't like them. But like storyline wise, I forget a lot of story beats, but like as soon as they get brought up, I'll remember them again. Anyway, what should I talk about then? What are you feeling?
Okay, so there's one that you weren't going to talk about a lot, but we'll say that. But I got to hear about this coffee talk.
Okay,
like let's get fired up right off the bat.
Okay, all right, fucking coffee talk. All right, listen.
We talk about daughters and dogs. And, no big
Every
whoop,
time you Google coffee talk, that's what comes up too, which is hilarious.
as it should be.
So, like you said, Coffee Talk, if you take a look at it, is a game that you would instantly go, oh, Justin will really like that game. Because I seen this about a couple months ago, I want to say. They started kind of showing it on Steam, like in the upcoming games thing. And I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And I immediately went, you know what this reminds me of? Valhalla. Which I fucking love. I love that game.
Was the because I still want to play Valhalla. I don't think it's been released on.
It's not on Xbox. That's the one system it's not out on. Like, because I immediately looked as soon as I got done with this. I was like, I want to play through Valhalla again. I'd play it again through that for the Xbox achievements. And I was like, I looked it up and I was like, no, not on Xbox. It's not on anything else. They're a really small developer though. Sukuban's like a few people. Coffee Talk is made, I'm guessing, by an equally small team. I think it's Sogi Games or something like that. Something weird. And I'm going to say it's one of the most blatant fucking ripoffs of Valhalla I've ever seen. Like, they don't even really try to hide it. And I could see where people would really like this. If you never played a game like this before, like, I could see people getting into this. It has that relaxing atmosphere. It has that tone. But like basically the whole thing is you're the barista. You get to name your character. So immediately once they have you name your character, my immediate thought was, oh, they're going to have dialogue choices in this game. You're going to be making decisions and trying to like actually talk through this thing, which is something Valhalla didn't have. Valhalla, they did all their decisions by how much alcohol you put in the drinks, which was an interesting mechanic. Like you could get people drunk and their dialogue would change, which was cool. Oh, yeah. And like it would affect your tips if you gave them the wrong drink and so on and so forth. You had to like keep up this. Basically you had to make money to get through the week or else you wouldn't pay your rent or whatever, which was interesting. This one doesn't have anything like that. It's just like, hey, this guy ordered a thing. You make the thing. Great. You did it. Good job. You can draw art on the lattes with the milk. You can do it. It's bad. It actively feels awful to do because like, and maybe I just suck at it. I'm sure there are people that are making cool art. But the thing is, even if you make cool art, there's no bonus or anything that happens. It's just like it gets requested of you one time at the beginning of the game to like, hey, I would like a coffee with this art on it. Make some art. And I was like, okay, I'll make the art. And I put the milk in and I started drawing on it. And I was like, this looks like shit. They'll probably hate it. Oh, well. And because I can't do any better. This controls are awful because on Xbox is what I played it on. I'm literally trying to use a thumbstick to draw. That is not going to work out. So I give it to them. They're like, oh, this looks awesome. And I was like, you fucking idiot. like, this looks terrible. I was like, they clearly just were like, did you put some milk in and draw some lines? Good job. You totally did it. They have like an endless mode for the coffee making too. And which is just the most tacked on mode I've ever seen in my life. It's just, hey, I want something that tastes like this. Can you make this? Sure, I'll make that. And you make that, and that's it. And it's like timed. It's just fucking stupid. But okay, but that's not what you're there for. You're there for a good story and relaxing dialogue. And I guess it's kind of there, but like the writing in it just sucks. Like, the character that you're portraying, there's no dialogue choices at all, by the way. It's a linear story, as linear as it gets. You're really not making any choices at all. Which is surprising to me because even, I mean, because like Japanese visual novels, it doesn't really matter most of the time, like what you choose. Right. But it at least gives you the ability to kind of craft your character in a way, right? So you feel like you're part of the story instead of the story just being like told at you. Right. And this one gives you none of that. Like, it's just, and I don't know, like the writing in it is just, it's the most mediocre shit in the world. Like, I didn't like it personally. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like screaming like, oh, it's so good, you're wrong. And I'm like, have you played Valhalla? Cause it's just this, but way better. Like, your character in Coffee Talk, like I said, is called the barista. You get to name them. They are the most lame fucking character ever, especially compared to Jill, who was a great character. Like, if you're not going to give the player dialogue choices or something like that to like kind of craft the story, or like even if it was like, hey, I gave them, sometimes there are a few occasions where you can screw up somebody's order or like give them a different thing and it kind of affects the story. Here's the other thing with that, with the making coffee thing. So Valhalla gives you a book that has every drink that you can make in it. And like if somebody comes in and orders something, you make that drink for them. You can mess with the alcohol level as much as you want. They even like explain that. But like basically you make the drink. That's what you do. It's not hard. Sometimes people order a double or whatever. Sometimes they'll just go by the description of a drink, but and like it's kind of a puzzle to be like, okay, what is he talking about in my book? This one gives you like the basic couple recipes for coffee, and then everything else is a question mark. So if at some point in the story, somebody will come in and be like, I want this kind of coffee. And you're like, I have no fucking idea how to make that. What am I supposed to do here? Like, I guess I just guess. And then like they'll be like, oh, you made the wrong thing. I'll be like, but that's what you told me to make. Oh, you put the milk in before the cinnamon or whatever, so it's wrong. Like, what are we fucking doing here? Like, it's too strict for its own good. Like, it's too detailed. Like, they try to go... And
it also, the funny thing is, like, it sounds like it's got less to it than the coffee tasting mini game from Judgment, which was, like, a very, very tiny part of that game, but was still, like, it sounds like that was deeper.
Right. And I believe there is some of the coffees from that coffee tasting mini. Yeah, just play Judgment. That's a fucking better game than this. But... yeah, like I said, if you're gonna make a visual novel like this, though, if your writing is on point, I could forgive all this coffee making stuff and like okay, yeah, it's just in the game. It just like if the writing was good,
yeah.
But it's just really mediocre. Like I said, your character is just fucking lame. There's a girl, I think her name's Freya. I've already forgotten a lot of character names. I think I wrote one of them down. No, I wrote three of them down because two of them are fucking stupid. But. Her name's Freya. She gets in a thing. She's got to write a book now. Oh no, she doesn't have a lot of time to write the book. What's she gonna do? I'm gonna write about the coffee shop. That's cool, right? And you're like, I don't know about writing about the coffee shop, but there's so many good stories that come in and out of the coffee shop. I'm gonna write about the coffee shop. All right, I guess you can write about the coffee shop. What are you gonna do? And like, okay, her premise is actually interesting. It's all that to say one good line, basically, and it's right in the middle. It's like, I'm gonna write a book so this is set in a fantasy realm where there's like orcs and elves and humans and all this stuff. It's basic generic fantasy stuff. But it's set in the year 2020 in Seattle. Makes sense of that. But
I mean, Will Smith did a Netflix movie that's basically that.
It's an entertaining setting. Like I got what they were going for. It's funny and like I said, her whole thing is I'm gonna write my book and it's all gonna be based on a world with just humans, and all the people that come in and everyone she tells is like, how is that gonna work? Like she's like, I'm gonna make it about like racial stuff too. Like I'm gonna make it about that, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense because how can you do it if it's just humans? They're like, well, if we all have the most minor differences, we'll all find a reason to hate each other. I was like, you know what? Good line. I like that. Yeah. That was pretty good. Well said. And there's occasions like that. There's one part where they start talking about like, there's like a video game developer person and like they have a whole thing and they start going into like crunch time stuff. And that's interesting. Like it's not bad, but like, and there is one really funny character that reminded me like if this character was in Valhalla, I would be like, oh yeah, this character's great. Like they're really good. And that's Neil. You'll know him when you meet him. And they were
that's literally what it says like under his character description. You'll know him when you meet him.
You'll know him. Like he's a lot of fun. His whole arc was probably the one good one in the game. But like, I don't know, man. It just like you keep like thinking like, oh, this is gonna go some places, and like It really doesn't. Like, there's the most cliched storylines you can possibly get. Oh, there's a cat girl celebrity, and she's fighting with her dad. Oh, man, where's this going to go? Maybe they'll eventually work out their differences. I don't know. It's like, man, and it's funny because I was like, when I like got to that part, I was like, you guys fucking ripped off Valhalla so hard with the celebrity coming into your fucking establishment. Ripped it off so fucking hard. I was like, oh man, that part really set me off a little bit. And then, the first story that you encounter is like, there's an elf and there's a succubus, and they're different races, and the elves hate everybody, and their family's really racist, so they can't be together, and they decide they're gonna break up or something, but they want to be together really bad. It's like that tale as old as time shit. You know what's gonna happen, you know how it's gonna play out, and it does play out like that. It's just, I don't know, man. And like they allude to like this mysterious past with the barista character. And I'm going to tell you that the twist that they give, I predicted a better twist than what they actually gave, because that twist fucking sucked. Like, it was awful. So anybody out there that's curious about this game, you should just go play Valhalla, because it's 100 times better. If you already played Valhalla, you could probably skip this. It's just play Valhalla again, because fuck this game, man. Like,
yeah, it's rough when the game is like 95% dialogue, but then it's just not good dialogue, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it would be if it was like bad dialogue, but that was like half of the game, and then like the actual like mechanic part of it, like the gameplay part of it was fun,
right?
And maybe you got something there.
Maybe
but yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
But in a game like they have it set up, you have to really make up for it with the writing. Like, Valhalla is like interesting because I loved the writing in it. Like, I loved Jill as a character. The most interesting thing Valhalla does is the first character that comes into the bar is somebody that you instantly go, oh, this guy's a fucking problem. Like, instantly. And like they kind of allude to stuff like that. I kept waiting for him to drop a character that I wasn't going to like into the coffee shop, but all the characters were just like, this is this cliche ass character that you were going to like, I guess. Fine. It's just like every character is just yelling at you, please like me. I'm so good. I'm such a good character. Please like me. And I was just like, fuck you. I don't like you. Like I said, Valhalla did it so good because the first guy they drop in there is just like a fucking total shitbag, and you're instantly like, oh god, this guy's a fucking problem. And you're getting all of like Jill's thoughts on him, like, yes, this guy's a fucking problem, and like all this inner dialogue, because she's a great character, much better than the character you have in this game, because he's fucking just lame. But yeah, it was a bummer because, like, I kind of want another Valhalla. They are making one this year. There's a game called Nirvana, which is apparently set in the same world. They have a lot to, like, I'm nervous about it because I'm like, I don't know how you really top the first game. I mean, there was problems with the first game, like, even writing-wise. There's a problem with the first game that I had personally where, like, they kind of, like, have this weird, mysterious character in there, and then you learn about him at the end, and I didn't get it until this actual year when Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and I learned that it's a part of Cyberpunk lore, and I was like, oh, that's what that was all about. Okay, I get it. That's weird that you went that deep. I still don't think it was necessary, but it's cool that you went that deep into that lore, but anyway. Yeah,
no, I've heard about that sequel to Valhalla, and I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but what if I told you that Jill gets out from behind the bar, gets a like futuristic cyber shotgun, and it's a third person cover based shooter. Also, you jump out of a plane with 100 other Jills.
That would be funny. I'd laugh. That sounds like a fucking deal they would make. Sukuban seems like they'd make a deal with just about anybody. Funny you mentioned that, because the best part in Valhalla is the part where you switch. One of the patrons switch places with Jill and makes her the drinks, and you get to do like she's your customer, and it's a great part of the game. It's
nice.
The best part of the fucking game. And Nirvana is not going to be that, because I know obviously it's not going to be that. It's going to be the same kind of thing, but it's actually it's different cast, everybody. So they're doing different bartender, different characters, different bar, different setting. Well, same setting, world or whatever. But like I'm really interested to see what they can do. I like who writes those games, so we'll see what happens. I'm really curious about it. So
yeah. coffee to alcohol then.
right.
I guess it's a good enough time as any to talk about After Party, which is a game that I didn't get it day one like I was planning on it, but it was a game that instantly went on my radar very high because, was it last year? Well, within the last year and a half, I had played Oxenfree,
Right.
which was the studio's first game, and that was one that somehow I completely missed when it came out. I'm sure that the Giant Bomb guys talked about it, but I do not recall it at all. The only reason that I ended up picking that one up is because Rob Pearson on the PlayStation Access Friday features brings it up all the time. And I was like, you know what? Let me give this a shot. And I really loved it. So when I found out that they were making a new game, I was all on board. And, for listeners, Justin talked about it literally the day that it came out.
Yeah.
When he finished
literally the day it came out. Yes.
Yeah. But for listeners who don't remember, who aren't aware of the game, you play two characters who have just graduated from college and then somehow wind up in hell, and they don't know how they got there. They don't know how they died. They don't know why they're in hell. But as they're exploring, they realize that, or they hear about this rumor that if you can challenge and beat Satan to a drinking contest, then he'll let you out, and basically, you get a free life. Basically, you get to go back to the world of the living. And also, the hell is interesting. It's structured really interestingly because the actual torment of hell is a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And then when it's over, literally the instant it's over, even if they're mid whip swing, if the buzzer goes, then you don't get that last whip swing and you're off. And then, you go and you socialize and you do whatever. And so for a lot of people, that means just getting shit faced and kind of complaining about, their torment or dating demons or whatever, there's all sorts of stuff that's going on. It's a very active nightlife in hell. I really enjoyed it. I think that the characters it's Milo and
oh god, I forgot her name.
I always want to say Otis, but it's obviously not Milo and Otis.
Definitely not Otis.
Yeah.
Milo and I'll look it up. You keep going.
But yeah, so it's two characters, where Oxenfree, I think there was 6 characters total.
Oh.
But I think focusing it on 2 main characters allowed them to really flesh those characters out. And I think they're written really well and also acted really super well. Not Milo, she's voiced by, Janina. Lola. Yes, Milo and Lola. Thank you. Her voice actress is, Janine something. She's actually she was in Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh.
You'd recognize her if you saw her.
Okay, yeah.
But she's also a super big gamer, and she's actually been getting involved. She's been on the last 2 years of Giant Bomb's nighttime shows.
I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, she's really cool, and she does a great job as Lola. And the actor who plays Milo, I'd never heard of before, but he's fantastic.
He was good.
Kind of sounds a little bit like Fry from Futurama.
Yeah, he does have a little bit of a Fry vibe. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not just in the voice acting, but also just
his
the character
mannerisms.
itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ashley Birch is in there as the cabbie, and she's fantastic.
She's fantastic.
She's Ashley Birch.
She's so good. Yeah.
Ashley Birch is the Nolan North, the new Nolan North. It's just yeah, she's in the game. She's fantastic. It's just
she's going to be good. Exactly.
No, but I really enjoyed it. It's got a really cool art style to it. Oxenfree was a little bit more, not hand-drawn, but it had a hand-drawn look to it. It felt a lot flatter, where After Party definitely pops a lot more, and I love the designs of the demons. They kind of remind me of, a little bit of that Blizzard style, but more exaggerated, if that makes any sense. Because Blizzard has a very cartoony style, even when they're being serious.
I think I see what you're talking about there. Yeah. I like that game. Did you have the same technical issues? Has that been worked out a little bit? Because when I played it, that was my biggest complaint. And I played it day one, like you said, I played it the day it came out, and I had a ton of like just frame drops and chugging all over the place. I think it was the auto saving. I believe that's what I kind of summed up myself. And then at the end, I had a ton of just game breaking glitches that would just stop your progress dead right at the end scene, and like would just stop everything dead and screw everything I did up, and I'd have to redo the scene and hope it worked. And it was a mess. Like it really got messy at the end for me. But did you have any of that?
No. Well, no. Now, there were some parts that there were some definite frame drops where I could tell the difference. Because if I can tell there's a problem, there's definitely a problem, right? Because I'm very bad at noticing frame. Or frame rate, rather.
Right.
But the only time that I really noticed it was during the cab rides going from area to area, because that's also where the game is loading.
Right.
Other than that, very rarely would I see it, like, really, like, chug. Mm-hmm. And again, it was almost always getting towards the end of an area where I think the game was trying to preload into the next one. But for the most part, that was fine.
Yeah, I think they must have fixed that with a patch. I know they said they were going to, and like I said, that's what you get for playing it day one. Is
right.
It wasn't patched yet, and which to me, like, I don't know, I kind of held that against them because like you should have that done. Like that should be patched. Like if you're going to,
especially because it's not a like super resource intensive type of game.
It's not a I mean, it's a nice stylized game, but it's not a visual stunner. It's not fucking like God of War or something like that that's going to knock you on your ass with its visuals. It's not that kind of game at all. It's just like, but I mean,
I think there may be like maybe 4 characters on screen at the same time at most.
Yeah, like for me, it would just chug like a motherfucker. Like every other screen, like when you switch screens every time, it would just chug, 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 and then it would finally catch up. You'd move a little bit, chug, 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 finally catch up. It was hard. It was real hard to get through. But
I will say that I really loved the different drinks because
that was exactly what I was gonna ask. Yep.
Because they'll actually give you like different types of dialogue choices, and sometimes like your character, like, it's not a completely different voice, but like all of a sudden they have an accent.
Yes.
Or like they're super belligerent or like that stuff was really neat.
That
like,
stuff was fantastic. There's a scene where I drink a pirate drink.
Yes.
Made my guy talk like I'm guessing you did the same thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's you see that option come up, you're like, I gotta do this, and it's so good. That game's really funny. Like its humor hits. It really does.
And I will say that I was like, I think there's multiple endings, but I was actually surprised at where the game goes at the end when you finally have your showdown with Satan. Mm-hmm. Because that is a very complicated character.
It is. It's, you know what? It was a really good story. Like I said, the end is where the game started dying on me. I was like, oh my man, it's just now coming to its culmination and getting really good. And now I see where all this was going. And yeah, it's really cool, man. That game's really neat. So now that it's fixed, you can definitely tell there's multiple endings. I even wanted to kind of play through it again to see like if certain choices I made here and there. Cause you definitely can't make them all in one night. You have to miss certain things to see, you know, to get to where you're going, I guess.
There's like 3 main like objectives in the game, and there's like a binary choice on each of those, and so I want to go through the game basically the other way, to see all of that stuff. Because I think I could actually like get all the achievements on that one.
Probably. It doesn't seem like it'd be a hard game to get all the achievements on.
Yeah.
It's pretty short too. That's the other thing. It doesn't outstay its welcome. Like,
it's longer than Oxenfree by a few hours, but that's still not bad. Because Oxenfree, I want to say that you can finish in like 3 hours, and this is more like 6 or 7.
Really? Man, when I played it, I remember it being like 5 or 6, maybe. Yeah, you might be right. Maybe I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I go through things really quickly. So
yeah, I mean, I spent some time like kind of wandering around, and I was trying to like, you know, like I would actually go to the bar and get extra drinks and stuff like that.
Oh,
so.
Okay. You were really engaging in it. Yeah, I was just like, okay, well, we're done here. Let's move on to the next thing. That's how I play games.
Yeah. Well, one that I wanted to talk to, we talked about it a little bit before the show, but I kind of just want to get it on recording. Tell me about Saints Row the Third, Justin, because I also wasn't like, I think you've kind of mentioned it in the past, but I wasn't sure if you were like a fan.
Oh yeah,
that game or
I love
4?
those games. I played all the Saints Rows from the first one when it came out. So what happened was I was watching one of my YouTube people, and they were playing through Saints Row 2, and I was having very nostalgic moments with it, watching them play through. I was like, oh god, I remember this. I should go. I was like, you know what? I should go play that just for fun. I should just go see it again. If anybody out there is wondering if they should go play Saints Row 2, probably don't do that. That game doesn't hold up very well. So immediately I was like, but you know what game I feel like will hold up? Saints Row 3. And I was right. Playing those two back to back, like I played them like within an hour. Just like I said, I basically shut down Saints Row 2 and booted up Saints Row 3. And I can tell you that it is a dramatic improvement from 2 to 3. Like, dramatic. Like, they improve every single little bit. Like, visuals.
I mean, it's like 3 years between, I think. Like,
I want to say 2. No, I actually think it's 2 years. I think Saints Row 2 came out in 2009. I believe Saints Row 3 came out in 2011.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But it's only by a few years, if anything. Because I remember being like, wow, what a dramatic improvement from this year to this year. Like, it's just amazing. And yeah, Saints Row 3 is really good. It's kind of a game that's sort of like if you wanted to show somebody, hey, this was this year in gaming and just life in general, that's a good game to go to. Like, we didn't know Hulk Hogan was a racist yet, so we made him a luchador. That was pretty funny to remember. Like, there's, like, it plays like Kanye West when you jump out of a helicopter and land and shoot up this, like, house party and stuff. And I was like, this is great. I love everything about this right now. It's so
I hear he's
over
a
the
genius.
top.
That's what I've been told.
He is the Hideo Kojima of music.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he likes fish sticks.
Probably, I don't know.
It's a South Park thing.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, it's still a really good game, man. Like, I've been having a lot of real dumb fun with it. Like, just, like, I kind of been like, just wanted a game to like kind of turn my brain off and just play through, and that's been like the perfect one.
How long did you spend creating your character? Or do you just go to like a tried and true?
I always make Roxanne, and I know how to make her like right off the top of my head. Like, I know you put this mole here, you do this with I'm actually a little bit better at the editor now, especially after messing around with years and years of practice on WWE games. Like, actually, the character creation in Saints Row is like really good. Like, it's still really good. Also, that game looks really good still. Like, it actually like kind of holds up because it has a more stylized look to it. So like, it doesn't look awful. Like, if you boot, like, Saints Row 2 was still trying to be like a realistic looking game. This one is just going, it's like, no, this is our style. It's almost like, it's like kind of cartoony, but not really, but it whatever it's doing, it works. And like, the whole game just looks great. Like, I haven't like encountered any part of the game where I've just like, yeah, this isn't fun, I'm not going to do this. Every part has been like, yeah, this is great. Like, it's real stupid and real fun. It's over the top as all hell. I'm having a good time playing it. I think I'm like halfway through. I just got to where the big army guys come in and start shooting up things. I can't remember. I just started playing it like literally last night. So
it's funny that you brought it up because like I was literally taking a shower the other day, and like mid lather, I was like, it's time for a new Saints Row game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it is time.
Like a brand new one? I don't know if we'll ever get one again, because I think
the rumor is that they are working on one.
Are they really? Is it THQ Nordic working on it?
Well, Volition, but which was purchased by THQ Nordic.
I was going to say
they're still there.
I was going to say I wondered if they're still around, because I know that last game they made, Agents of Mayhem, like tanked, and it was a pretty bad game. I didn't like it.
I like parts of it. Like, I think there's a lot of there's a good game in there.
It's maybe, yeah.
But the level design is like completely like cookie cutter. Like, they've literally like, you know, every place that you go to underground is like the same area, just like recolored. And
I played it for, I want to say about maybe 3 hours and was like, yeah, that's enough of this. I
played
didn't vibe with
half
it at
of
all.
it.
That's
Like, and
impressive.
because I dug the whole, like, okay, I see what you're going here with, like, this G.I. Joe vibe, and I
Yeah.
actually did like the character
I liked
designs
some of the vibe that they were going for.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I could tell the Saints Row influence, and I was kind of like, I was really into that. I bought that day one. Like I was like
Same,
really excited for that game. And yeah, I remember playing it and being like, yeah, this is not what I was hoping for. I don't know what I was hoping for, but this is not it. Like it
Yeah.
just didn't work for me. But yeah, I hope they get to make a new Saints Row. We could use another one. I think it'd be
Yes.
great.
I think there's a lot of places that they can go. Like, I think a lot of people have said, like, well, what do you even do after Saints Row 4? Because it ended in such a crazy way, and it's like, time travel, motherfuckers. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
that's exactly. Yeah, they could definitely do something like that. That'd be fun. I playing through 3. I remember I still like. I will hold true to this. I do like 3 better than 4, just because it's a little bit more grounded. I do like how over the top 4 is. I love a lot of the scenes in 4. Don't get me wrong. 4 is a really good game, but I do like 3 better just because of. I don't know. I feel like once you add the powers, like. It makes it fun. It adds a new aspect to everything, yes, but it also kind of goes, well, why do we need the cars and all the stuff that...
Exactly.
Yeah, but I like the cars. I like driving in games. I don't know. That's I'm good. See, that's one thing I am good at. I am good at driving in dumb open world games, like even GTA games. I am good at the driving.
Right.
Done it so much in my life because that's what we used to play past the controller with GTA 3. You either get good or you just give up the controller in 15 minutes. So that's what I did.
Well, and I will say that, like, I like the driving in the Saints Row games because it is arcadey, like
arcadey.
GTA used
Yes.
to be.
Yeah, it's very arcadey.
And I will say that I think that Grand Theft Auto the Third is a better overall game, but I think that the highs of Saints Row 4 are higher in my view than the highs of Saints Row the Third. Cause like, I'll never forget teaming up with Keith David to fight Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah.
In a shot for shot recreation of They Live. Like that is so fantastic. And then being able to call Rowdy Roddy Piper up to just like roll with you and your crew.
Yeah, that stuff, they do some of that stuff in this one. Like there's like, I was going through like the voice actors and like even the DLC and stuff. I didn't download any of the DLC. I don't think I'm going to play through any of that stuff, but
yeah.
I was looking some of it up and they have like Sasha Grey, who's like a porn star, does one of the voices in it. And I was like, really? I was like, and then when I like got to that character and heard her, I was like, yeah, that is her, I guess. That's weird. That's a weird choice to make, but sure, why not? And then, yeah, there's like Troy Baker's one of the voice actors in that game. There's a lot of good. Yeah. Keith David was in,
he's been in all of them. He's not in the third one.
I was going to say he's not in 3.
Yeah,
I know he's
but
in one.
because he played
sure he's in 1 and 2.
Julius.
Yeah, he's Julius in 1 and 2.
And so then when he becomes your vice president in 4, he keeps saying, "Well, I'm not going to betray you because Julius betrays you in the older games." And so it was like little in joke. And then of course he actually does betray you, which is really funny.
Yeah, but Saints Row 3 still a good game. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun.
No, I'm really glad you picked that up randomly. Like it's funny because also I've been thinking about it because I just re-listened to the Giant Bomb 2011 Game of the Year deliberations because I was so disappointed with the 2019 ones.
Right.
And like there's a part where they actually make the case that Saints Row the Third was the best wrestling game of 2011. And they're like, well, no, I mean, WWF All-Stars was really good. And they're like, okay, it's the second best wrestling game of 2011.
Yeah. On the subject of Giant Bomb Games of the Year stuff, can I bring up another game just because it's a great segue? Tetris Effect is a game I played, and that was their Game of the Year in 2018.
It was, which I was shocked by. So was friend of the Giant Bomb cast and comedian Ron Funches.
Yes. I believe he said you guys pick them pretentious ass games all the time as your best games, and I felt differently because and not because I disagreed with him. I think. Here's the thing. I forget sometimes that people in video games tend to smoke a lot of weed. I forget that's a thing. And after I played Tetris Effect, I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? People get high and play video games a lot.
I mean, let's not forget that was, I think, Patrick's game of the year that year.
I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah, I remember. And yeah, I get it, because I was like, if I was high right now, I would be like, this is amazing. Oh my God. But like sober, I was just like, yeah, this is an okay Tetris game. It's pretty good. I mean, it's Tetris. I was like, I don't see what's that. I mean, okay, good. It has a good soundtrack. Granted, like really good soundtrack. I like what they do with sound effects.
It's the coolest looking the Tetris has ever looked.
Oh yeah. It looks,
but it's still Tetris. Like
it looks good. It plays like a Tetris. I don't like. It's a good Tetris game. Don't get me wrong. Like if you're like, man, I really want to play a Tetris game, Tetris Effect, you're not gonna be disappointed by. It's a great Tetris game, but it's a Tetris game. Like I was like, this was fucking 2018 Giant Bomb Game of the Year. I was like, how stoned were they when they fucking played this? They're like, oh my God, it was so awesome. The dolphin come in and he was like, oh, I'm a dolphin. And I was like, I guess, man, fucking what?
Now, I know that some of them played it in VR, and I've heard that does make a big difference.
That might be a big difference. I remember that was another thing. I was like, if I was in VR, maybe this would be amazing. I don't know. I'm not a big VR person, nor will I probably ever be. I'm not a big. I don't know. There's something about I don't like first person perspective, and that's pretty much everything in VR. But yeah, and like I said, it's definitely not a bad game. It's Tetris. It's a really good Tetris game. Like,
turns out Tetris is one of the best games ever made. Who knew?
Good. You can't. It's hard to screw it up. I mean, you can screw it up, but it's hard to.
Yeah.
But but yeah.
For me,
I
like
it's pretty funny.
I had my time with Tetris in '89 through like '91 on the Game Boy, and I was like really into it, and then I had my fill of Tetris, and I just never felt the need to go back to it. Like, I dabbled with like Tetris DX on the Game Boy Color, and then just working in Game Fellas, like I think I tried a couple of the ones that came out on like the PlayStation and stuff, but I was like, yeah, okay, like none of these are as good as original 1989 Game Boy Tetris. I'm good.
I tend to agree. I playing this one. I was like, it's been years and years since I played Tetris, and I was like, yeah, it's Tetris. It's fun, but like that. Also, I played Puzzle Fighter before. I was like, yeah, Puzzle Fighter's better than Tetris, isn't it? I just like Puzzle Fighter better.
Yeah.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take of the podcast, and I don't take it back. I love me some Puzzle Fighter. I think it's great.
Well, I mean, come on, like. One of them has a chibi, super deformed Chun-Li in it. Which one is going to win in Justin Ham's eyes?
Well, yeah, that, and you have to build up all the squares, all the gems, and you can combo off, and then they like make a bunch of stuff, and like sometimes you like play from behind, and then like you just accidentally get a big ass combo on people. It's great. It's super fun. It's awesome. I love Puzzle Fighter. It's great. Best puzzle game ever made, I think. Oh, Puyo Puyo's pretty good. No, it's not Puzzle Fighter though.
Played Puyo Puyo for the first time in the arcade in Judgment, and I was like, this is all right. Like,
I played Puyo Puyo for the first time in Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine on something, and I was like, I don't know why, but this is fun. I'm entertained by this dumb Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, because I think that's one of those games. See, I play a lot of shit to make fun of it, because I was like, this sounds really stupid. What the fuck is this? And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of a fun puzzle game. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I guess piggybacking off of that, moving from a Capcom game to another Capcom game, it works as a segue, I guess.
Sure.
I didn't want to end the episode. Well, I mean, we're not close to ending.
We're not done, no.
But I definitely wanted to talk a pretty good chunk about Devil May Cry 5, because way back, like in October, I think, I had put a poll out on the Nerds Without Pants Twitter page about what game should I play next. Basically after Halloween, cause I was playing a bunch of horror games then. And,
right.
Of the ones that I put, like Devil May Cry 5 was like far and away, like the winner, like wasn't even close.
Right.
And I played it. It's on Game Pass, which is really cool.
Right.
And for the first couple hours, I thought that maybe the listeners hated me. Because I was hating Devil May Cry 5 at the beginning.
Hey, I love that opening cutscene, though. That opening cutscene is cool.
Oh, yeah, all the cutscenes are like, all that stuff. But the actual act of playing the game,
It's a little awkward. Yeah.
I had a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
As I continued to play the game, what I realized was this just feels like Devil May Cry, like 2001 Devil May Cry. Like the way the characters move, everything about this is like that old game, which was great on the PlayStation 2. But for my money, action games have come a long way since Devil May Cry came out. Now, I guess to give a little bit of context, I loved the first game, but the second game was fine. Like I don't think it's the terrible travesty that a lot of people think it is. I just thought it was a little bit boring. But
Yeah,
I played all the way through.
I think that's generally the vibe of it. I think it's best broken down on back when Super Best Friends were still a thing, they did a playthrough of Devil May Cry 1 and they played through the entire thing. They were doing like a marathon. They were going to do all of them in order. And they got to 2. For the longest time, they're like, we're not going to do 2 because 2 is not a good game. They're like big, like purists of that shit. They're like fighting game guys. They know the shit. Like they get it on a level you and I will never understand it.
Yeah.
And they got to Devil May Cry 2 and they're doing all the things. They're like, we lied. We're going to play through Devil May Cry 2. And it was kind of a goof on the audience. They're like, you guys didn't think we were going to do it. And they got to this part and they got their guns out and they just sat there and killed everything with the guns and didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
Yeah. And they're like, this is why this game is bad. And then they stopped the thing and started up 3.
Yeah. And also like the actual character is like a total 180. Like he doesn't have any of the personality of the first game. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Third game was way too hard for me. I got to the first boss, Cerberus, and I couldn't beat him.
That game is hard. Yeah, that game is... Yeah, they put... Like, yeah, that game looks hard as fucking hell, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then Devil May Cry 4 looked like just more Devil May Cry, and I skipped it.
Yeah.
And then DMC, Devil May Cry from Ninja Theory, which I still haven't finished, but that was far and away, like, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is doing something different, right? So to go to Devil May Cry 5, which, you know, as I understand why people were loving it so much last year.
Right.
It's because it's a return to form. My argument is that for a game to play a lot like Devil May Cry 1 and 3, that genre has like morphed so much. Cause you gotta remember, like, since Devil May Cry 1, we had the entire God of War series, right? We had Onimusha, which was also by Capcom. We had the Rise of Platinum. We had Bayonetta, and we had Metal Gear Rising, and just like these like fantastic character action games that move really well and control really well. And like, you know, to go back to, wait, why is my melee button like reversed from every other action game? And why does my character have this really weird, like, movement where his jump is, like, really shallow, but then also I can't make my character run. He just starts running after a set amount of time moving, and it's always just a second too long before it kicks in. Right. Like, all of that stuff was really bugging me. And then also, I talked about it last episode, and it'll come again later. One of my big pet peeves with Japanese-made games that has become... It's always been this way, but it's just becoming more and more exacerbated as time goes on, as everybody else realizes that this isn't a good way to do things. Quit stopping the action every, like, minute or so to show me something that I don't need to see. Yeah, they have a real bad habit of that in that game. It's a little choppy, especially like it's not a little choppy. Yeah, it gets pretty. It interrupts itself a lot. Like, you have to be pretty into that story to really be engaged in it, and not even then, because some of the cutscenes, like you said, are just like, oh, this guy showed up now, and that's it. Yeah. It's literally that's the cutscene. You're like, did we need to do that? Like, he could have just showed up. It would have been fine. Like. Yeah, and I mean, it's like a thing where it's like, okay, kill 2 guys, that really cool music kicks in, but also the battles are over super fast. I was just going to say the battles are over before the music ever gets a chance to kick in. That's a big judgment of it. Then you take a step, and then, like, it fades into a cutscene, and the cutscene is literally just them showing you the path forward, which you were already looking at. Right? And so then you go down a hallway a little bit and you pick up an item. And even though it's an item you've picked up before in the past, it still has to interrupt you to, like, bring up the screen to tell you what that item is, even though you already know what it is, which Zelda does all the time. It's one of my biggest complaints about that series. Zelda's really fucking annoying about that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I forgot about that. It's just this constant feeling of, like starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And again, like, I don't think that game feels good. at all. Like just the moment to moment character movement. And the funny thing is, super hot take here, V is the best part of that game.
I don't think that's super hot. I think a lot of people liked it. I think I'm the one person that didn't vibe with him.
Everybody that I ever heard talk about Devil May Cry 5 said that V is not only like the worst character to play as, but also like the worst character in the game. And I was like, nah, man, like he's got the coolest personality. He's reading a book of poetry, which is really neat.
I thought he was super cool. And and like even like Cal Super Beast guys, or the Super Best Friends or whatever, they thought he was cool too. And like they're like the big judgment I had. Like if they're the purest of that series that I think they are anyway.
Right.
They like that character, then yeah, he's good to go in that series. But like obviously, well, we won't spoil it. But Yeah, I thought he was one of the more interesting characters in the game.
Because he basically he can't interject in the battles physically. He doesn't have enough power personally. Like physically, he does not have any power. But he summons these shadow beasts that do the fighting for him, and so it's this really interesting like. The mental gymnastics you have to do to make him work as a character is really neat because you're controlling two shadow characters. One is like a ranged character, one is a melee character, but you also have to make sure that V himself is not taking damage. Right. And the enemies are trying to attack V, not necessarily your shadow monsters. So you have to be like much more mindful of the entire battlefield as a whole. Right. And there's something about it that I vibed with super well, and I would get like triple S rankings with him constantly.
Nice.
Like I was just like wrecking house with him every time that I got to use him. And so anytime that I got to choose, I was picking him. I mean, and also another hot take. Look, if you're one of those people who like got really bent out of shape about the redesign of Dante in the Ninja Theory game, but you're totally fine with all of the characters in this game looking completely different from how they looked the last time they were out, I'm sorry. Like I've got no sympathy for you because like
I think it's just Dante.
Nero looks like Cody Rhodes.
I don't think people are as attached to Nero as they are like Dante though. Like I think, like I know people certainly like him. Like I know that's, Kazuo Subaru's the one guy that's his favorite character. Like he loves Nero and he was cool with the change and all that stuff. In fact, he liked it. But I think Dante is one of those characters that as soon as you change him, like he's so beloved from like people's past that like people are going to judge you very harshly. And if you don't,
well, yeah, but they got a free pass on this one. Like he looks like a old hobo.
Yeah,
like a heavy metal hobo in this game.
He does look like that. I see. No. Like when I played 5, I was coming off of watching a bunch of playthroughs and learning a bunch of stuff on how to play it. So I was getting to kind of use what I learned watching the games in that playthrough. So I was kind of having a lot of fun doing that. But one thing I will back you up on, the clunkiness, especially because I played Bayonetta very soon before I played Devil May Cry 5.
Ooh, that'd be hard.
And playing those back to back is like night and day. Cause like, where one is a super like fluid, like dodgy game, the other one's is really stiff and very deliberate, I would say. And yeah, like it was a bit of a mind fuck to put it mildly. Yeah. But like I didn't hate Devil May Cry 5. It obviously it wasn't even on my like top 10. Like, and I think that's the thing is people liked the game, but it didn't show up on a lot of top 10s that I've seen. Even people that I remember had liked the game, by the time it came around to Game of the Year time, it was like completely forgettable to them. And that's not to say it's a bad game. I think it's a decent game that like the hardcore Devil May Cry people wanted, and that's great, man. Like I think that's cool.
Yeah, and to be fair, like I hated it for the first couple hours, and then as I started to remember like how the game used to feel, and I realized what they were going for, I was like, okay. And then also once I started playing as V, like that totally changed for me. It's like, okay, I'm having a lot of fun here. I think the game looks fantastic. Like I really do love.
Dante. Once I started playing as Dante and had all the like style switching stuff, I was like, oh, this is a good time. I'm having a lot of fun with this now. Like I was just doing the most ridiculous things with that guy and having a great time. So
and it's actually a game that I would probably like, because like I said, the fights are over so quickly that you don't really get to pull out any of the neat stuff. And I was thinking like I would probably need to bump this difficulty up just to like actually, because like once Dante got the motorcycle weapon, it was just like, all right, I'm just like annihilating everything that I come across. Like it's not even, I just need to like press the button a few times and everything dies.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Yeah, the fights don't last long enough. But another big thing in that series is for the hardcore players, like they definitely build that towards the Bloody Palace stuff. That's like the big test of your ultimate skill or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. I'm cool on it. I'm not that good at those games.
Right.
But like that's where like I'm guessing you get the cool music kick. And it is cool that it like has that feature, but I feel like it would be cooler. Like I know like one way to get like your style up faster is like you like actively have to think about making the fight look cool, which is interesting. Like that's one thing I learned from watching other people play it. They're like,
yeah. I mean, that's the way it's always been. Like you can't do the same combos over and over, and you've really got to like. It's a lot like some of my favorite wrestling games where
Right.
I mean I know they're very like people hate them now, but like the original like Activision WWF games on the PlayStation, Warzone and Attitude, they were very much built around the fact that like if you were doing the same shit over and over, the crowd would actually turn on you.
Yeah.
And your opponent would actually get this huge surge of energy
Right.
and could take you down. And so you really had to be mindful of like entertaining the crowd, which especially back in the 90s was like, you're kind of exposing the business here, guys. Like,
right, yeah. Like there's little details in Devil May Cry with like the taunting. Like taunting is a huge part of like getting your style points up.
yeah, I see. I never even messed with that. Like,
Yeah, see, like that's a big thing. Like there's a taunt. Somebody was showing it off. It was like it's like Nero goes and like points his gun at a guy and fake pulls the trigger, and the enemy will like wince at it, and like your style points go up, and then you do your combo and all that stuff. And like there's a ton of weird stuff like that in that game that people like way smarter and way better at video games than me will go nuts over. But
yeah.
me, I'm not that good, so I had a good time with it. But like when I was done, I was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm good."
Yeah. And there was like certain mechanics, like the whole like Devil Breaker stuff with Nier. Like I never really got.
Oh, the arms, yeah,
Yeah, because like also the thing that you can't actually like manually switch between them, I thought was very strange. So it's like
Yeah,
if you
it's
wanted to
weird.
like switch to the next one, you had to like actively break. I don't know. That whole thing I thought was like needlessly complicated and didn't like. And again, playing on a normal difficulty like never really even came into play. Like I was like,
Right.
I'm not even really using the moves that are associated with these items. I'm just
Yeah,
like accumulating them.
I'm guessing you're just supposed to go nuts and use them all up a lot because they drop them all over the place.
Yeah.
The fake arms everywhere. So I'm guessing you're just supposed to use them a lot. But like I said, I'm not that good. I don't know what I'm doing. But
Yeah.
like it's definitely a pure ass Devil May Cry game, and that's what that fan base wants. So
Yeah, I
Good
think
on 'em, man.
I'm definitely going to go back and play all the way through DMC now because like
there you go.
I really want to compare them because I remember what I've played of DMC just feeling just really good like right off the bat.
There
Like,
are
just
parts of that. Yeah, there are parts of that game that look really cool.
Yeah.
I don't like everything. Like just watching it. There's certain like stylistic choices, not the character designs or anything like that. There's just certain stylistic choices
Sure.
that I'm like, I'm not like super high on this aspect of it, but like there's like I know there's a boss fight where you're like fighting a dude in a newsroom and he's
that's
like,
the one I want to get to. Like
that boss is super cool. Like
Yeah.
I seen that, I was like, this is cool. Like I can't even hate on this. This is awesome.
Yeah, and I do like when Devil May Cry gets really wacky. Like I love the fact that like
Oh,
when you
yeah.
would call Nico, like there's sometimes
Oh,
when
she was
like she would
great. I
crash
loved
that
her.
van in like impossible places. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, like I
Yeah.
can't stand her voice, but
I see. I you know what? Maybe it's because she reminds me of people where my family's from. Like
Uh-huh.
they have that sort of accent where it's like it's very southern.
Yeah.
hers is a little more Louisianan, I think. But I liked her as a character. I thought she was a lot of fun.
she's a cool character. Yeah, I just I didn't like her voice, but I
it
like looking at
happens.
her.
All these thoughts running through my head, all the fire things burning red. Frustration is getting bigger. Bang, bang, bang. Pull my devil trigger. Embrace the darkness that's within me. No hiding in the shadows anymore. When this wickedness consumes.
Yeah, where should we go from here?
I guess I could talk about another game. I guess there's no real good way to segue into it, so I guess I'll just talk about it.
Sure, I probably just threw some music in there, so that segued into it.
Good, excellent. I'm glad because I'm going to talk about a game that I played called Kentucky Route Zero.
Yes, I'm excited. I've been waiting because I knew you were going to play this, and you were going to be the determining factor on if I actually play this. Because for listeners who may not know, like Kentucky Route Zero came out episodically, like back in 2011, I think was the first installment, and then they didn't finish it until just this month.
Right, and I had never even heard of it up to this point. Basically, I heard about it on Giant Bomb because Alex Navarro talked about it. Basically, I've kind of come to realize that a lot of the games that he's into are probably something I should at least check out because most of the time it's going to be something that I'm into. And I gotta say, this game is really, really good. I really like it. Now, it's not going to be for everybody. That's 100% sure. It's very point and click adventure-y. So if that's not a vibe you're looking for, then this probably isn't for you. If you're not really into the text heavy, I'm going to sit down and read a lot of stuff. I mean, it's dense. Like, it's very book-like dense. But all the writing in it is extremely good. Like, really good. It's a tough game to talk about because, man, it's hard to get into anything story-wise. So I'll tell you the basic premise. Basically, you start out as a guy. His name's Conrad. He's an older dude. You can kind of tell. You show up at a gas station. You're trying to find a place called 5 Dogwood Drive. You're delivering some antiques there. You don't know where it is. You've been driving all night to try to find this. You stop in at this gas station, and the guy's like, "Hey, go look it up on the computer." And then the whole it starts from there. Like, I'm not. That's all I'm going to give you. It starts from there. You meet a lot of people along the way. It's not just it's not based on just Conway or Conrad. I'm sorry. It's not just his story. There's an ensemble cast by the end of it, and it goes some really interesting places. Summing up the themes is really hard because it's about a lot of stuff. It's about like debt and loss, and there's a lot of symbolism and stuff going on. It's a game that, like, even after playing all the way through it, I don't fully understand certain parts of it, which is actually really cool. I'm actually I find that super intriguing that I'm like, I wonder what all that meant. And it's just really good. It's just really good. Now the way it plays out is it's like I said, point and click adventure. You're kind of just running around. You pick on a person, and you have a conversation with them, and then you go do a thing. There's no real puzzles or anything like that. There was I think one puzzle right in the beginning of the game. It's so fucking easy. It's not even funny. But basically what happens is you're having a conversation. You'll get dialogue options. It'll feel like you're making choices. It feels like you're depending on what I pick in this dialogue, the story's going to branch a certain way. And I want to say that's a very not a good way to think of it. You're not making choices so much as you're choosing the way, what you want to hear in the story more.
Sure. I mean, like we were saying earlier, more of just crafting a character for yourself. To feel more...
Sort of. It's not even that. So this game is very A to Final Destination. Point A to point B. Mm-hmm. You're going from one point to the next. There is a solid ending. It is going to happen. That is it. There's no way you can change it that I know of. There might be. Somebody out there might be yelling at me that, no, there's choices you can make. There's one chapter where it's chapter 4, and I actually want to play it again, where you are making kind of choices as to what you want, what scene you want to see play out, but the other scene is still happening whether you pick it or not. So you can go back through that chapter. I actually might do that tonight because it kind of sounds good. You can kind of go back through the chapter and pick the other scene after you play through it. There's ones where you're like, oh, well, I gotta see that. It seems like they expect you to do that. But, and basically, like I said, it's not so much you crafting your character. It's more you kind of getting to know your character differently or getting to know another character. Like, you're picking what questions what you want to learn about this character you're talking to, or what you want to learn about yourself, basically. Like, so like, you can be like, I had eggs this morning and this person did this, and like and basically it'll just give you one line, but that line is actually like a paragraph of things that you're going to learn about this whole event or whatever. And it's very, very interesting, very well written. Again, it's a game that there's a lot of symbolism and stuff, I can tell. I don't fully grasp all of it. I will be the first to admit to you, and I'm okay with that. I think that actually was really cool that there's still stuff I want to go back through and go, oh, I see what they meant by this, especially after seeing the ending. It's just a really good game, man. Like, the first 2 acts are pretty short. It feels like they were kind of like proof of concepting it or something. They were kind of getting their toes wet in the development stuff. And that's why I think this game took 7 years. I believe I read an interview with these guys, and they were like, yeah, we put the first 2 out pretty quickly, and then we very quickly realized the scale we had set was way too high, and we could not put the game out that we wanted to make with what the skills that we had and the time frame we gave ourselves. It was impossible. So this is what happened. It ended up going on 7 years.
Sounds like what's going on with Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Right. Well, that's a whole nother ball game, I believe. But anyway, so there's these what really got me was like, okay, there's, first chapter where I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I kind of stopped after the first chapter. Then it goes into like an little intermission episode. And I played that. I was like, this is interesting too. Okay, cool. The intermission episodes are these little things that kind of introduce what you're going to get into in the next episode, basically.
Oh, that's neat.
And yeah, they're really cool. And I played through chapter 2, and I remember being like, okay, this is still pretty good. I'm interested to see where it's going. It's really weird. Everything that's happening, I don't fully understand, but sure, the bird's picking up houses. What the fuck is happening? I don't understand anything. It's really, really weird. And then it hit me with the next intermission episode, and this is where I was full blown sold on the game. It's called The Entertainer, and basically it's made to be played in VR. I didn't play it in VR, obviously. It's basically what it is you have a first person perspective. You are sitting at a table in a bar. You can't move. You can't do anything. All you can do is look around, and you very quickly figure out that you're in a play. You're just a character who has no lines to speak in a play. So you would look down at the table, and just a list of things would start coming up. These little dialogue things that would just tell you your character's motivations at the time. It would just run through them real quick. It'd be like, the barfly contemplates escaping, doing all this other stuff. He remembers this, and all this other stuff. And you're like, okay, what the fuck? And you look up at the bar, and a play starts playing out. And like, it's the most like mundane bar conversation at first, and it slowly builds into this other thing. And you're like, what the fuck is this? And you can look all the way around back into the crowd and all this stuff. And I was like, this is so weird and different that I love it. And when it ended, like, as it built, I started getting like scared. Like, I was like, how is this going to play out? I don't know. I feel like something bad's going to happen, and it ended up actually scaring the shit out of me. But that's another story. I won't spoil it. That part was really good. I think you can skip to that chapter, but don't do that. Don't play it in order. It's worth it.
And also, let's just remind listeners that Justin Ham gets scared at everything.
I don't react well, especially in first person perspective. That's what made me very uneasy about it, which was, I think, intended. And the way that it ended was like, I can't say it because it's a spoiler. Sure. So, but it was really cool. It was like, it made me jump personally, but like in a way that was so awesome that I don't fault the game. There's some games where I get mad when I get jump scared. This one, I was like, oh, that was fucking great. That was cool. The way you did that was awesome. I basically jump scared myself in it. And then like third chapters, you can tell like they figured out what they wanted to do. They figured out the scale. They knew where they were going in that third chapter. They knew exactly how they was going to play out. The third chapter, I believe, there's a giant bomb. Quick look of it. and that's where they started, is on the third chapter. It has a great scene where you meet Junebug, who's a really interesting character. She's a robot. It's fucking great. Her and Johnny, who's also a robot. They're two robots. Don't ask me why they're in there. I don't fucking know. It's a weird game.
Yeah, the more you're talking about this game, I feel like the less I know about it.
Oh, dude, it is out there. It is really out there, but it's really something different and special. Like it really is. And
I'm sold. I definitely want to check this out.
You should. I'll tell you this. In the Giant Bomb Quick Look, there's a scene where you go to one of Junebug's concerts, Junebug and Johnny, one of their concerts, and basically you pick the first line of the song. So basically you're picking what lyrics they're going to sing. It's a really awesome moment, and it's really surreal. Like the roof lifts off the thing, and it's cool. The ending of the game, and like I said, I fully admit I'm really dumb sometimes, and like I didn't fully understand everything that was happening in the game, but I understood enough. Like I got the main gist of it. You get it. It's not like something you're like, oh, I have no fucking idea what happened. No, it very clearly you get it. But at the end, the scene was like very, very powerful for these characters that I had never met before, to where, and also it probably is a little bit of the song that plays. Like I broke down crying, like admittedly fucking lost my shit. That song is fucking gorgeous. And it's just a vocal gospel track. Is it
like original for the game, or is it a song you knew?
I don't know. If it's not original for the game, it's an old gospel, like just from Jesus-y book of songs. I don't know what those are called, Julian. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's the Jesus-y book of songs.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I got that right on the first try. Nailed it. But yeah, it was just a gorgeous, gorgeous track, and really haunting, really awesome scene. And then it ends, and it was great. And there was also another little mission episode called, oh God, I have it written down. I forgot the name of it. It's all in Latin, or Spanish, something like that. Del Pueblo de Nada, the people of nothing. I know it's the people of nothing in Spanish. There. I got there. That one was terrifying to me because basically they play off the fact that you know where you are, because it's a place you've heard about throughout almost the entire game, and you know what's about to happen, but you don't know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. You just know it's going to happen because you immediately feel it, and it's from like kind of like almost first person perspective, but like over the shoulder kind of, and you're just like guiding a local television broadcast. Really cool game, man. Like that game is awesome. I think I could definitely see where people would be like, this game is not for me. And I totally get it. It's 100%. Like if you're not a text heavy, like I'm going to read a story kind of gamer, that's fine. I believe the only criticisms I have of the game are sometimes, at least on console, it's a little tough to tell where the hell you're going. Like control wise, there's one scene in particular where I can remember where the controls felt inverted because I was pressing up to go towards the screen. And I was like, this is not right. This is not how this works. But you're never in any trouble. You're never running from something that's going to kill you or anything like that. So it's fine. And the other issue I'd had was, because the writing's so good, I wanted to see every single thing. I wanted to see every inch of that game. And sometimes I would accidentally stumble into progress.
Gotcha.
And I was like, oops. Like, I was like, I wish you could have spelled it out a little bit. There was one scene where I missed like 9 other things because I accidentally clicked on the right thing. And I was like, whoa, that sucks. I missed all this stuff that I wanted to read. Oh man, that's a bummer. It didn't turn out to be like the biggest deal because I figured it out what it was from like the first thing that I read. But still, I wish that maybe they could like kind of go, hey, if you click on this is the progress point. Like if you want to see everything, come to this last. But I understand why I guess you can't do that. So, but yeah, that's really good game. Really high on it. Loved it a lot. I don't know if you'll like it as much as Julian, but like there are some really heavy themes in it. Like, about like debt and like loss and stuff like that. It's real good, man. It's
As
real
someone
good.
who's been deeply in debt and who has felt deep loss, that sounds like something that I can appreciate.
You might really dig it. Like it's out there. I'm gonna warn you, it's really out there. Like so you know, like if you start going, oh, what the fuck is happening in this? I kind of embrace stuff like that where I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck is happening in this, but I hopefully find out and figure it out. So
yeah. I did check out just a little bit of the Giant Bomb quick look, just because I literally had no idea even what the game looked like.
Right.
All I had heard effusive praise about it for years, but
Right.
even just, and I guess I'm getting a good sense of like why it's so hard to get a grasp of like what it is because it's really hard to describe.
Right.
But I was like, oh, so that's what it looks like. Cause I was like, part of me was like, I think it might just be like a text adventure game, like like straight up like Zork with
there
just
is-
text.
Funny you should mention that. There is a part in that game where it is a straight up text adventure. It's actually a really cool part of the game too. There's like almost 2 of them that are like straight up text adventures, but they're really interesting and neat. Like the way they did them is super cool, and there's super important parts. Well, at least the one is. And then I guess it just came to me, but there's also a really fun. They have a sense of humor in the game too. And it's pretty good. There's one intermission episode. It's called oh god, I forgot it. Their names are fucking out there and weird, and I can't remember them for anything. They're really long. But basically, what it is you call a tourist hotline, and basically you're just clicking on numbered options on this phone, basically, and this guy's just reading you stuff. And there's one there's like, if there's a snake on your arm, press 4. And immediately I was like, I gotta press 4. And he just starts going, if the snake is coiled, he's like, well, how'd that thing get there? Press 4 if it's doing this. He's like giving you options as to what the snake does. It was pretty good. Awesome game. I really enjoyed it. So
Nice.
and I played it really slow over, like I let every episode kind of seep in and like really get in there. Like I wasn't like marathoning it, which I felt was to my benefit because it really like let me soak what I had just played up every time. So if I could recommend a way to play that game, if you're going to play it like that, play an episode and then kind of take a break for a few days and then come back, you know?
Yeah. That's how I recommend people play Life is Strange games. Like they release them episodically, and I think that's a really good way to play them because each episode is about 2 to 3 hours in each game, and I like that's a really good chunk. And then, as Wayne from Letterkenny would say, you let that marinate. And then come back to it. Like, I mean, even if it's the next day or 2 days later, that's fine. I'm not saying that you have to wait like the length of time that they originally like had them released between or whatever, but it's not a game that I think that you should play in a 10-hour chunk or whatever to like see the whole game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel the same way about this one. Yeah. You can, I mean, you could, if you really wanted to, if you were super into it. All depends on how you feel, I guess. Like me, I enjoyed like playing a chapter and then kind of taking a break from it. Like it to me, it made it a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Playing a chapter of Judgment and then putting it down was the way that I liked playing that one.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Same thing as like most of the chapters are, they're around like 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
And it's interesting. I've got a lot of stuff to say about Judgment. Like, I really enjoyed that game. Like, I gotta really say, like,
yeah, it's a good game.
I am, so, obviously it is not a Yakuza game, but it is, a spin-off of the Yakuza series, and it takes place in the same city as most of the Yakuza games. And now I've played, like, more than half of Yakuza 0, and I played all the way through Yakuza Kiwami 2, and the reason I skipped to that one was because that was a review game for Pixelbit. And now I've played all the way through Judgment. So I haven't played a ton of these by any means.
Right.
I am starting to notice there's a quite a bit of sameness. And I don't necessarily mean because they're in the same areas. I actually think that, like, the fact that they can do so much with that area is kind of amazing. And I think that's really cool because obviously it's allowed them to make a lot of games, and I'm sure that has saved on cost and everything over the years because they've already got the city design. They just have to like change some stuff because the city changes over the years. And that's also cool is like, oh, right. Like they talked at some point they talked about, Bantam bar, and like someone talks about how it used to be Bacchus. It was like, right, I went to Bacchus, back in Kiwami 2. Little things like that is really neat. And seeing the way the city changes, like Millennium Tower, in Yakuza 0, it's just being built.
Yeah, they play off of 6 a lot in that game too. There's I think the Hong Kong building where I think there's like a fire or something is still like burnt down there and stuff like that. Like they do a lot of cool stuff like that. I do enjoy that aspect as well.
Yeah, there was a neat little even though I hadn't played 6, I got the mention of Kiryu, not by name, but I guess there's a subplot with a mascot. And I know just from like footage of Yakuza 6 that Kiryu like dons that costume.
Onomichi Man or something like that. Yep. That I wondered if you would know what that was, because I remember being like, oh yeah, this guy, and there's a whole little subplot in Judgment about that. Yeah, it was pretty good.
But like just the fact that like at least the games that I've played, it seems that all of them have to do with like there's a murder and people aren't sure who caused the murder. And there's always like either a plot of land or some sort of like big sum of money, and the government's involved somewhere. And it's like, I'm getting to the point where it's like, maybe I don't need to play all of these because I'm starting to see what's going on just from game to game. It's like kind of the same thing. And there's always 4 tough guys, and they're always called the so-and-so 4.
That is true. They do that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
even and there was like one, I forget which one it was, but not only was there like the 4 big tough guys that were called the so-and-so 4, but then the heads of the owners of each of the cabaret clubs were called the so-and-so 4.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
they were.
Okay, guys, like, I guess I wouldn't mind it as much if the games weren't so friggin' long. It's like,
yeah. No, I agree with you. They do tend to try go over that same plot a lot. I'm not sure, like the middle ones I've never played, like 2, 3, 4, and 5 I've never gotten around to. So I don't know if that happens in those. Now, I will say
it definitely happens in 2.
Okay.
Because that's the one that I played. I played Kiwami 2, which is a fantastic game. Like apparently it's considered to be one of the best in the series, and I highly recommend Kiwami 2.
I've heard that. Yeah. I think I bought it recently. I bought Kiwami 1 and 2 on sale, I believe, and I just haven't. I was kind of like, I'm still Judgment. Like the Yakuza series is one of those games where I want to play one once a year. Now this year might be different. That's exactly
how I feel.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do one of these a year.
Yeah.
And so I probably won't go through the entire series. I might end up going back and finishing 0. And then maybe skipping to 6? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The physical versions of 3, 4, and 5 are supposed to come out soon.
Yeah.
So I am going to pick those up.
This year might be different, though, because it's a completely different style of game. So it might be okay to double dip. Maybe. It depends on how I feel,
And also,
we'll see.
7 takes place in a completely different area.
Exactly. So
I mean, Kamurocho is in there, but I think it's like a late game, like... It might even be end game type stuff, like after you finish the main story, but the main story takes place in a completely new area, and so that might be the thing. But again, I'll be curious to see if it has to do with a murder that involves like a big sum of money, and then the government is involved somehow, because it just seems like that. And there's going to be like 4 really tough guys. They're probably pro wrestlers, and they're called the so-and-so 4. I
think that's like always their fun like main side story thing that they do is they're just going to make 4 big tough guys, because they did that in 6 with the New Japan guys, and I thought it was great because they're New Japan guys. I was like, oh fuck man, Rainmaker Okada's the lead guy. Fuck yeah, I'm into this. So
it wasn't so fun in Judgment, and
no, it sucks in Judgment.
I feel that we really harped on this, but we never really explained what the Keihin 4 are. So here's the thing.
That's why
the Keihin gang, they're supposed to be like, it's kind of weird because like when you first see them, it seems like they're just like a bunch of thugs that are just kind of like they're causing mischief throughout the city. But then as you go higher up, there's definitely like some dude who's like a businessman who's like the leader of this gang that doesn't fit at all. But whatever. The way that it works is that you get into random battles in the streets of Kamurocho. That's how all the Yakuza games work. It's like whatever. But, and I'm not sure how this works, but I think either the more Keihin guys that you fight, I think that's what increases the chance of one of the bosses coming after you.
Oh,
and
maybe.
it's either that or it's, I don't know, because for me, it seemed to happen, like I said, like every 20 to 30 minutes of gameplay. It was
Yeah.
super annoying. But what happens is when the bosses come looking for you, you get a text message from one of your friends, and he's like, "Oh, you need to stop them. They're rampaging through the city." And you have this 100% threat level that ticks down extremely slowly. You can wait it out if you want, but you may as well just like go make a sandwich, eat the sandwich, do your dishes, put the dishes away, and then you might be at like 25%. Right? It's that long. Or you can just make a beeline for one of the bosses and fight him, and it'll take it down by like 40%.
Right.
But as you're moving through the city, you're running into caking guys like every few steps. It's like playing a 8 or 16-bit RPG where you're getting into random battles every 3 steps. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. You're not. You're not even exaggerating. It's ridiculous.
And the caking 4, like the actual bosses, it's the same fight with them every time. Like, they have the same moves. It's not like they evolve or anything over time. They even have the same dialogue every time that you see them. And all of them start to pull out some bullshit when they get to low health. And
Sure do.
it ends up, like, I mean, I think Honda, he's like the big, like, muscle-bound dude.
Yeah.
He actually straight up beat me like 4 or 5 times simply because he has this move when he gets down to like low health where he just grabs you and slams you to the ground, and there's really not much you can do about it unless you have like lightning fast reflexes and you sidestep it. But he always does it when he's like right in front of you. So there's like almost no chance to react. Basically what it boils down to is that it makes exploring the city not fun at all.
Yeah, it sucks.
And so towards the end of the game, I was like, I'm not even going to try to do the side content, even though the side content for this series is like one of the like big shining points of these games, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some crazy fun stuff in there. But to that end also, there's certain things, and this goes back to like talking about Devil May Cry 5, but there's these little things, and they're going to sound like the stupidest things when I say them, but they add up to a lot of annoyance for Julian, right? Like, just the little things, there's little things of, like, that stop my forward momentum, right? So, like, as you start to befriend people in the city, eventually they'll just be walking around, and some of them will actually jump into the battles for it and help you out when you're fighting. But then every time you finish a fight, Yagami stops, looks at them, they say something to him, and then, like, you can't move for, like, just long enough for it to be annoying.
Yeah, no, now that you mention it, I forgot all about that. But yeah, that used to get really annoying.
Yeah. And there's lots of little things like that, right? So like, you know, because I'm trying to like get all the completion stuff, even though I know I'm not going to 100% this game because there's just too much. But even so, I'm like, oh, let me get all of the little items from the gachapon machines, right? But every time you click on it, Yagami has to say the same spiel every time before you can actually put the money in to do the thing. And it's like, that's for every pull. So it's like, oh, a gacha machine. I liked these when I was a kid. I wonder what's in here. Every single time. And it's like, guys, come on.
I think a lot of that boils down to their insane schedule that they have for those games in putting them out every year.
I think this is just a larger Japanese development ethos problem.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, I agree. That stuff does get annoying.
Here's another example, right? And I understand that part of this is just like, if you're going to like create the resources or use the resources to make this, you may as well get the most out of it.
Right.
But like, there was like this one really funny, like side content where I'm just walking down the street and then this wig flies by. Right?
Yeah.
And so this guy's like, oh, please, like, and then he like trips and he rolls his ankle and he's like, you gotta chase my hat. And it's like, okay, so then you're doing the chasing mini game, which is never fun in Judgment.
It's not.
And you chase down this guy's wig, which he calls a hat. You give it to him, and he's this really quirky, like, male idol, and he's really funny, right?
He is funny.
And it finished, and I was like, I'm glad that happened. That was a really neat, quirky thing.
Yeah.
Then a few hours later, I'm in the same area, and then the same wig like flies by with the same animation. He runs by, rolls his ankle again, and then I have to do the same thing. And but the thing is, it's not the same mission. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
But it's like but it plays out exactly the same. And then you do it again. And that's the thing is like, you know, guys, sometimes less is more. Like, this should have been a one and done type of situation.
I know that one pays off and a little bit in some way, especially I know it pays off with one of like the side mission characters. Like, did you do the quest with the people that had a ghost living in their apartment?
Yes, but I didn't finish their quest line. I got to the point where they introduced him to her, but I had a feeling there was more with them after that I didn't.
There might be. I don't know if I even finished their quest line, because I was like you. By the end of that game, I was like, I'm not doing the side shit. This Kaheen stuff is too much. Like I was very. When I was done with that game, I was very ready to be done with that game. I was at the end. I was really beelining it. Like I enjoyed Judgment a lot. Like don't get me wrong. Like I really liked the game, but I'm with you. Like there is a lot of stuff that I'm like, you could have cut this. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
Like I had a lot of complaints about like tailing. Like tailing is just the same thing, and it was like, it's cool the first time you do it. And then after that, you're just like, oh.
And then, so there's enough of it to where it gets annoying, but then towards the end of the game, I was like, nobody fucking walks like this. Why like, nobody actually actively, like, looks behind them and starts like,
Yeah.
And also, like, one of the last story mission ones you do, I kid you not, Justin. Well, I mean, because you played it, but the listeners, I kid you not. He walks out of a building, which is like a mall. And then he goes out to the street, and then he walks back into the building. The same building he was in, mind you. Meanders there for a little bit, walks back out to the street, goes around the building, behind the building, makes a complete loop around that same building, and then goes up and then down over a street, and then back down south, and like basically makes another circle before going where he needs to go. And it's like, you're literally just padding out the end of this game at this point, because we're talking about this is towards the end of the game. And it's like,
you're
guys.
ready to move. You're ready to move forward, and it's just stalling you every inch of the way. Yeah, no.
And now, having said all that, I think there's a lot of characters that are great. I think the story is great. I thought it was funny because like the actual final court case, I thought that the actual evidence that you had was bad. Like there's a leap that Yagami makes as far as like somebody committing a murder, and I'm like, you have no evidence like to support this. And to the point where like when it got to the point where I had to like show my evidence that shows this connecting thing, I got it wrong, because I was like, none of this shows this. What are you talking about? Like I don't have a case here.
It's been a while, so I can't remember exactly what happens in that case, or if I got it right or wrong. But
but I really liked it, and I got to say, and you had texted me this, but like, I love the way the game ends, and I love the end credits sequence. It's
great.
It's one of the best things, and I'm like, if they do a sequel, like I'm totally on board.
Oh yeah. Exactly. I feel, get rid of the Kaheen gang shit. There's a few things you can cut here and there. I think this is like a cool like trial run for this. It's possible they were like afraid like maybe it wouldn't take off, so maybe we don't put as much time into this thing as we do developing the next Yakuza. I don't know. It's hard telling.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the game, and if they make another one,
because I will say that like, I wouldn't consider this one to be an action RPG like the other games. It seems much more of like just like an action game, because there's not really a lot of emphasis on like building your character, or like you can't equip anything to him. The fighting is way simpler than the other games that I've played. And like the heat actions aren't nearly, I told you this like just off air, but like, it's kind of funny because like in the Yakuza games, they make a big stink about Kiryu. Or they make a big deal about Kiryu not killing anybody in the story, right? He's not a murderer. But then the heat actions, like he'll take a katana and just ram that thing like hilt deep into somebody's stomach as just like a regular move. But he's not a murderer. But then this is the game where they decide, oh, well, we can't have that cognitive dissonance. So, we're not going to have Yagami like pick up a taser and like tase the hell out of somebody, or, like pick up a gun and like just start opening fire or any of that stuff. Like he literally can't pick up any of those lethal weapons to do neat shit with. And it's like, man. Like,
I mean, they're trying to, establish him as a good guy character. He's not, in the Yakuza. I get what they were going for. I think as a trial run of this concept, I think it's pretty interesting, and like going forward, I think they'll improve and expand upon it probably.
Yeah.
Like I liked some of the heat actions. I thought were a lot of fun. Like when you're like by a food thing or whatever, and like a guy will just like randomly like, here's this like shish kebab, this kebab or whatever, and stick it in their tongue and burn them. Like that stuff's fun and stupid and interesting, and I liked it. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's expansive. Maybe it's because it's a new character and they don't have all the animations for it like maybe they do with a Kiryu, because I'm guessing, you know, you can do a lot of like porting around here and there to make that engine work with that character. Fuck if I know, man. I don't know how games work.
There's definitely some reused heat actions with.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can do the animations and stuff, but you also have to remember, like, if you're trying to establish this new character who doesn't do this violent stuff because he's different, you have to then put in new ones, which, hell, I don't know. Again, I don't know how games work, so there's probably more than you and I know that went into it, but they did a lot of the repetitiveness in the mini games and stuff like that. I was like, oh god, some of this can just, I would kill to not see it ever again. Like, it just wears on you pretty quickly. And
also, as just like a fan of like arcade games, I'm so sad that it's like people like gave me some shit for this when I tweeted it, but like every time that I walk into a Sega arcade in one of these games and they have Space Harrier in there, I'm always upset. I'm always disappointed. I'm like, really, guys, Space Harrier? This isn't a very good video game, and it's in every single one of these. Like,
people like Space Harrier.
People love Space Harrier, man. Yeah. But no, I really did enjoy that game quite a bit.
Also, I want to say I didn't say Space Harrier was bad. Please don't yell at me. I did not say that at all.
I'd rather play Afterburner, which also isn't that great of a game. Like, you're just looking at it with nostalgia goggles.
Afterburner was fun.
It's fun.
It's not good. No, don't get me wrong. Now that one I played, and I know it's not that good, but it was quirky because that was the way it had like the flight stick. That was always the appeal of it, and like the flight stick was all cool and metallic looking, and it made me want to play it.
Or if you got to the really fancy arcades that had the whole pod that would like actually move.
I played that game in a bowling alley. They didn't have any of that shit. So
I only saw that once, and I don't think that I think I might have gotten into it. I think it made me a little sick.
Interesting.
That might be one of those weird, like, sometimes I wonder if my memories are actually my memories, or if they're like just like weird, like nerd osmosis memories. I don't know.
Sometimes you mix things up in your brain. It happens.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. That's really kind of all I've got, Justin.
Okay. All right.
I know. Do you need to unleash this horror upon
the bad game?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the bad game. Let's do the bad game. All right. I promised everybody out there, every time we do one of these, I would play a bad game. And it was funny because I almost wasn't going to do it this episode, because I was like, I played Coffee Talk. That's enough. That game was bad to me. But then I was like, no, you got to go the next level with it. You've established a thing. You got to go the next level with it. So I bought a game on the Steam for like $1.50. It's called H Rescue. Yes.
Is the H for hentai?
Probably. I think H
I don't know because
like,
I didn't play it. I just bought it.
Okay, so in Japanese games, this is the thing I randomly do know because I play a lot of awful video games. If something refers to an H scene, it's generally like their like little like notation for, hey, this is a sex scene. Instead of saying sex, they just say H. Like, even if like referring to, hey, do you want to have sex with this girl? It does not have sex with them. And do you want to H this girl? Mm-hmm. Like, it's weird. It's a weird thing they do. I don't understand it, but it's a thing they do. Anyway, this game's called H Rescue, and it's fucking awful. So what it is, it's kind of like a puzzle game, I guess. Puzzle visual novel game. A lot of these are. Basically, the first part of the game is you walk into a thing, and you're in a dungeon with a girl. She's like a mage, I guess. I don't really know. The guy's really a dick to her, which, you know, that's just what he does. And you have to then, you come across these people, they're enslaved. You gotta free them because it's H Rescue, so you gotta rescue them. And to do that, you have to solve a slide puzzle. Which is basically just like you put the picture together.
Dude, I fucking hate slide puzzles.
It's not really a slide puzzle as pick where the tile goes in this picture. So it's pretty easy. It's just like, the face probably goes here, and you put that where the face goes, and then you go from there. It's pretty easy. you meet all the girls that way. So let's go through the girls because I have some notes about these girls. So okay, I have Maraha. She's the mage lady. You don't put her picture together. She's just there. She's your partner in the dungeon, I guess. Here's some dialogue from the beginning of the game that I wrote down. So let's just get this. So first, the color of Portal is different. Normally, Portal's color is blue, but this one is red. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I auto-corrected it. Portal's color is bull or buell, but this one is red. That was, I believe, the main character saying that. Then you get to the place and it says, Sacrifice Monument for Supreme God Zek. The 9 selected virgins will be a gift to the powerful god. And that's basically where we're going here. So then you meet the girls. You got one, her name's Hannah. She is a human monk warrior girl. You got Ekio. She's a cat girl shrine maiden. I'm sorry. I fucked that up. She's from the clan of Catman. That's how it's put in the game.
I think that's a clan of characters from the He-Man. Like,
are they Catman?
Well, I mean, because there's Beastman, and then there's Merman.
Yeah.
I think there's Catman.
Oh, is there Catman? Okay,
no, there isn't, but it just...
Oh,
yeah.
There should be. Okay, well... Natural, yeah, okay, anyway. You have Ren. She's the shy maid girl. She's pretty fucking boring. I think I actually left her to die. There's a part where you can leave them all to die. I was like, fuck her. Hikata, she's the religious nun girl. You have, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Noel? I don't know. She's a zombie girl, I guess. You greet her. You tell her that you're her savior. So that's a thing that you do. Also, she's aware that she's a zombie, which I find weird. I don't feel like she should be aware of that. I feel that's a weird character trait. You have Izumi. She's a succubus. Her line that I wrote down here is, she will do everything to return you favor and guesses your vitality will be delicious. Take that for what you will. You have Amalia. This is the line that your character gives about Amalia. He says, "Wow, 4 wings and halos on head. Is it an angle?" It's spelled Angol.
Watch out for her angle slam.
Also, I don't know if that's a misspelling because that's how they spell it throughout the game. So maybe that's the race they made up, but it's very unclear. They don't really spell that out. She's like a Sundari. I think I have that terminology correct. You can correct me if out there. She's really mean. And then finally there's Tanya, and she's like an android from another world, I guess. And basically that's the game. So you do that, and you meet them, you do that, and you break them out. And then there's another puzzle thing where you break the binding, and none of their clothes come off or anything.
I was sold a bill of goods, Justin.
Yeah, you know what? I was too. And I'm just going to say this. I was really disappointed because they even say, like, the girl comes up and she's like, "Hey, I bet you thought their clothes were going to come off. Well, not now." And I was like, "Oh, fuck you." I was like, what are we even doing here? Like, isn't that the game? Maybe if I played through it again, I didn't look deep enough into it to know because I was like, I honestly don't care. Like, I was fine. I played it because it's a bad game. I'm only putting like an hour and a half into this, so that's cool.
I can find you some anime titties if you want to see some anime titties.
Exactly. I have the internet. It's fine. I don't need this to fucking do anything. This is way too much work for anybody. It's fucking stupid. No, but at the end, like, so you break all the binding off or whatever because they can't leave the place you're at. The cave, after you do that, the cave starts to collapse, and if you didn't get enough points, you can't save them all. You can only save enough to what point total you have. I think I had enough points to where I could save all of them but one, and I was like, yeah, fuck you, Ren, you're dead, because you're really boring, and I just let her die. Also, I didn't have enough points. I don't know if there's like a thing I could have done, but the mage girl dies too, and she's like, "Okay, so you're not gonna save me?" I was like, "I didn't know I had the option to save you. Sorry." And like your character's a real dick about it. He's like, "Sorry, guess you're dead now." And it's like, what a fucking asshole. And then you have your little ending where you get to see a picture of them, and they're like, "Oh, we're so happy you broke us out. Now we'll go travel around the world with you." And that's H Rescue. probably don't buy that game unless you want to laugh your ass off at all the horrible translation in that game, because it is bad.
Well, I gotta say, Justin, like I feel like you're misrepresenting this game, because I'm looking at the Steam reviews, and out of 202 reviews, its average rating is 9 out of 10. So clearly, this is one of the best games of our age, and you're just wrong.
I have a lot of hot takes on video games, so I'm wrong about Kingdom Hearts. I'm obviously a lot of other stuff too that I have some the Zelda. I'm not a big Zelda fan, so this makes sense.
Yeah.
So Zelda fans, H Rescue is your game. There you go.
Yeah.
This game's for you.
If you take nothing away from this episode of Nerds Without Pants,
yes,
that's what you
Zelda
should.
games, H Rescue is your game of the decade. If I don't see H Rescue on somebody's game of the decade list, I'm going to be a little disappointed in all of our listeners. I hope they know I'm joking. Or not. No, that'll be hilarious. No, put it on there. It'll be great. I guess we can get into an actual good game then. Is that?
Yeah, we can do that
now. Okay, all right. Well, that's a bad game, but it was funny. I laughed. It was an hour and a half that was really funny to me. But I played a really good game after Death Stranding had its spell had worn off and my funk for games had gone away. And I was like, I'm ready to dive into a big game again. And so I booted up Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
It's pretty good. I like the game.
I was excited when you told me that you picked it up, because, Patrick hadn't played it when he was still on the show, and I was like, I need to talk to somebody about this game.
Yeah. So,
just to remind listeners, so we're going to talk about this. This is probably the last thing we're going to talk about for the show this episode. We're going full spoilers. So,
we are going full spoilers.
Oh yeah,
okay, great.
Definitely. So,
okay, cool. Then I don't have to hold back. Then
no, not at all.
That's
so,
good.
listeners, if you were planning on playing the game, this is the time to check out. If you want to skip forward to the last couple minutes just for the outro, and then come back to this when you've played it, that's fine. Otherwise, if you don't care about spoilers, you've been warned.
Yeah, to be honest, I had this game spoiled for me before I played it a little bit, but it's been so long because it was I listened to a spoiler thing for it
when it was new, probably.
Yeah, when it was brand new. It was when Square Roots was doing Instant Classic or whatever. I listened to that episode and was like, oh yeah, that sounds like an interesting story. I remembered some things about why I didn't play it, though. I'll go into the negatives that I have about the game first.
Yeah, I definitely have negatives about it. I think the year that it came out, I think I put it as number 3 on my top 5.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that in hindsight, I've thought about the game so much just as a concept, and the negative stuff has kind of faded away, that it might have risen as far as one of my favorite games of the generation. I don't know where it would rank, but it's kind of a weird thing where it's if I'm talking about the quality of the overall game, it didn't beat that whatever game that was that year. But then in my overall, if I was ranking games of the generation, it probably would, if that makes any sense.
I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it had a bigger impact on me over time,
right?
That I was able to more easily forgive. I think the stealth is really bad.
Yeah,
I don't like the fact that if one enemy goes into caution mode, everybody goes into caution mode and they kind of stay that way forever.
It makes sense because they're over a network or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, I guess I get it. It's not great. It doesn't to me, I didn't really use stealth that much. I just would charge into fucking shit wholeheartedly. I just at some point I I recognized pretty early that the stealth was pretty much fucking not good.
Yeah.
So I didn't engage with it very often and would like, whatever, we're just going whole hog. Just fucking shoot him in the head. It's fine. Or in the tanks or whatever weak point they have. So the negative things that I have sound a lot different from yours. Like, I didn't have so much a complaint about the stealth or anything. Mine was, and I remember this was one of the reasons that turned me off of buying it initially, was I hate the fucking inventory.
Oh, it's awful.
It's fucking abysmal.
Yeah, it is kind of inexcusable.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. So if you're out there and you don't know, or it's been a while and you haven't played it and you don't remember exactly what I'm talking about, the inventory in Horizon Zero Dawn is basically, okay, you have a limited number of spaces, but we're going to throw a million things at you because you have to constantly be picking stuff up because you're constantly crafting ammo and all this other stuff. You have to upgrade your stuff to be able to keep picking things up, to pick up more stuff. And it gets to this point where it's just like so jumbled and overwhelming, and they're throwing so many parts at you that it's dumb. It's just bad. Like, and most of it doesn't even do anything. Like, you're picking up like, okay, you have to get this stuff to be able to buy this armor. Fine. That's cool. But you, you go to you'll finally find the thing you're looking for. And then all of a sudden you'll get up to it like, oh, you don't have enough space. You got to drop this something else. And you're like, well, what do I drop? I don't know. And it all could have been solved if they'd just been like, or just giving you the upgrades that you needed to get. That's the big thing is, okay, so you can get these upgrades, right? Why not just fucking make that part of the game? That's the default. Like, the upgrade, there's no upgrades. This is your inventory. That's the default.
Yeah.
Why, I spent the initial, almost half of the game making the game less bad, making it to where it's not more fun like I should have been having, like getting actual combat abilities. I spent the game making the inventory fucking not trash.
Yeah.
And it was still trash because you pick up a certain number of items and then it decides to double that item. Like, you can only hold 4 of these things and then it makes you a separate slot if you pick up more of that same thing. So, and then constantly you're like, okay, let me go into my fucking inventory, manage this shit. Fuck. You can't take weapon and armor mods off, which is just fucking dumb unless you get a fucking upgrade, which I had to spend half the game getting to this upgrade that's not even that important, just so I could feel like I could actually, now I can play the game and get fun stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why? Just let me have fun with the game. Like, it's a fun game. You made a good game. Like, the combat and stuff is cool. And the story's great, but
I think it's indicative of a deeper problem that is actually a problem with video games right now, is that as they've started to add more and more RPG mechanics into other games, they've taken the wrong lessons from them.
Yeah.
Because, this is a problem in Zelda. And one thing is upgrades, right? So,
right.
As you're getting, as you level up and stuff, you get these points and there's abilities you can unlock, but it's never a lot of these games, it's never I am creating a character, I'm building towards this type of gameplay. You're always, in any of these games, you're always going to get all of the stuff eventually. It's just a matter of what you unlock first. And I don't find that interesting. I think what's interesting is when you can't get everything and you're actually having to tailor your character to the way that you want to make them. And then same thing with loot. I've been talking about this for years now, and I think that the armor and weapons, the way they upgrade in Horizon is terrible.
It's not good.
Yeah, because it's kind of you start to get quote unquote better weapons, but it's really more of well, this one does shred or tear damage and this, but not this. It's more of you're trying to cherry pick what you want to.
Yeah, it's a lot of useless numbers.
Yeah,
really.
well, but also you end up in a situation where it's okay, now I'm carrying 3 types of this same bow, but they do different types of damage. And that's not just give me better versions of them, right? And same thing with the armor. You have the specific, the stealth armor. Okay, that's cool. But then there's this other one that just does this other, it's basically the stealth armor again, but it's a little bit better. I don't know. It's a really convoluted way of doing things. God of War is the same way.
Yeah, you can mod it to where it, like, oh, now I can have this kind of thing on it, but like since it's the elemental armor or whatever, like, but it's still not very good. Like, it's just, I don't know. I actually just picked an armor at some point, just like based on looks, because I was like, I just don't care. It's fine. I'll just put some decent mods on it. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
And it was fine. But that aside, I thought everything else was pretty good. Another complaint I have, and this is minor, and I understand I understand why they did it this way. I hope this is a thing that we're getting past next generation or beyond, because obviously it seems like Assassin's Creed can do it, so I want better locomotion. I feel like Aloy is a swift huntress girl who can move around and do cool shit and balance on things and so on and so forth. And the fact that, like, I have to find the glowing ledge every time to jump is kind of annoying to me. I don't like that in games. I find that shit annoying, like, where you're just like, okay, where's the next one? All right, there it is. Where I'm like, she has a really shitty jump, too. Like, it's a bad jump. There's just times where I was like, oh, God, I hate some of this. But basically what I'm saying is the movement doesn't feel all that great. It doesn't feel bad. Just, I feel like it could be better.
It had the distinct problem. This wasn't the game's fault by any means, but it came out like a month after Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where they're like, climb on anything.
Yeah,
well, but then of course
that too.
Then of course Zelda does a bunch of bullshit where it's like, climb on anything except that your stamina sucks, and also it's always raining everywhere. So don't climb on everything, but sort of.
Yeah, I guess this one, like, I more compared it to like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which, like, the movement in that game was one of my favorite parts, because by the end of that game, like, you're just like running around everywhere, jumping onto whatever the fuck you want, climbing up every structure and just jumping off the top of mountains and landing like it's nothing, and it was super entertaining to me.
Yeah.
And like just the way Cassandra like would move like just through the world, and like you would just kind of hold a button and she'd just jump over the thing for you, like stuff like that. I was just like, there's just times where I just like hit little like snags, and I know, you know, it's tough to do games. I'm not a game developer. I understand that shit traversal is like tough, so I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I really can't wait to see what they do in a sequel. I hope that's kind of the route they go, and more into like, yeah, fucking Aloy's a badass. She can fucking do this shit. She's just jumping on rocks all over the place. Like, I want that kind of ease and smoothness of movement. That's what I'm hoping for in a sequel. But like, other than that, like, I liked the combat a lot. I found that a lot of fun. Just like, although I don't know, sometimes when you get charged and try to dodge out of the way, like, it seemed like I would dodge right into the charge, which was kind of obnoxious every now and then, but maybe I'm just really bad at dodging.
I feel like I remember her role not being as useful as I would have liked it to be.
It doesn't seem that great, and I even got like an upgrade for the dodge, and it didn't seem to help. It was like, hey, if you hold down the button, now she'll do a really long one. And I was like, this still doesn't really help, but maybe I'm just doing it too early or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
My timing's not the greatest. So
I really loved the way that you could systematically take down larger enemies, like being smart about it. Like it was, you know, when I finally took down a Thunderjaw, like there was a big effing deal. I was like,
just gonna say, yeah, the Thunderjaw, I accidentally ran into the encounter with it, and that was super fun, because like what happened was I think I finally got to where I could go to that part or whatever, and I was kind of traversing and just doing the work whatever, and I was like, I had been in a habit where it was just everywhere I would stop at. By the way, there's way too many fucking icons on that map that don't mean shit most of the time, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, it's super confusing. Like, it's just spots where encounters are, and I'm like, I don't feel like you need to have this. It just clogs everything down. Like, if you put where stuff is, it's fine. Yeah, you can. It's not the biggest deal. It's a minor complaint, but I was like,
well, it's funny because a lot of people will hold that game up as being like, oh, there's just like too much shit on the map, and it's like a big checklist, and it's like, I don't feel that way in this particular game, because again, like you said, a lot of the stuff is just like, oh, they just put this here in case you want to farm specific components from enemies.
I knew why it was there.
Yeah.
I didn't hold it against them, but it does make it like a little like confusing to look at sometimes, but like the stuff to actually do, there isn't like an overwhelming amount to do. There's just like what the little like forges or whatever, and like towns and stuff, and the brontosaurus, the long necks,
the long neck, the tall necks, and then like there's not the hunting grounds, but the
hunter challenges.
The hunter challenges, yeah, because like
I didn't do any of those.
Because this is one of the rare games where I did everything. Like I platinumed the main game, and I'm only like a couple trophies away from getting everything in the Frozen Wilds. I think there I stopped just because it was like a couple like I just really don't want to fight these enemies. The amount of them that I would have to in order to get these trophies.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But. Yeah, it's rare for me to want to do everything. And now, to be fair, I played this game before The Witcher 3. And after I played The Witcher 3, I realized how much Horizon was inspired by that game.
Yeah.
Like the way that like the quest lines, like they are actual quest lines, right? Like,
yes.
And they interlock with each other and they tell this larger story. And, you know, that's really what sucked me in, because I was like, everything in here is meaningful. Like, I don't feel like I'm just like doing stuff because it's a checklist. Like, I feel like I'm actually contributing to Aloy's story, like in every little bit. It's amazing.
Yeah, no side quest felt like I did it for no reason, which was nice. And like, yeah, I really liked that. I liked almost every character. I can't think off the top of my head of a character I didn't like, that I wasn't like, you know, supposed to hate her. Yeah, exactly. It was a really good game, man. So let's see if I remember the story. Story-wise, the beginning with like her dad was like super. I loved that. I enjoyed the fuck out of the opening of that game.
Yeah, getting to play her as like an adolescent was really cool.
Yeah. I remember like getting choked up when she finds the what's it called? The little visor thing. God, what the fuck? Focus.
Yes.
The focus. She finds the focus the first time. And like she gets the little message with the guy wishing his kid a happy birthday, and she doesn't know what it is, but she like lights up at it. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. Like, this is so good. And, that was really heartwarming. And then like, you know, she goes through and like things happen, that are bad. Stuff blows up. You meet the guy with the handlebar mustache who's a really good character. He's like kind of drunk all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah. I do have to say, one of the things that I really like about Aloy as a character is that she's a heartbreaker. Like every like main man that she encounters falls head over heels for her.
Yeah,
but
you can
she's
tell
just
they're
like
super into her.
She's like, nah, son, I got shit to do. Like, I don't have time for this.
She's like, thanks, but no thanks.
Like, I think it's the prince of like is it the Sun Keepers? Like the big city, right? Like, and I think because he's like mourning like I think he's mourning the loss of his love or something like that. And
he becomes, okay, I know what you're talking about. So he's not the prince, he is the king.
Yeah.
He is the old Sun King's, I forget his name exactly, but he's the old Sun King's son who revolted against his father and took over because his father was a crazy person who would go to all these other tribes and sacrifice him. So now they're trying to make up for that to become like, hey, we did some shitty stuff. We're really sorry about it. You guys were so sorry about this. We know that was bad. And like, he's the guy in charge of all this stuff. And like, they're basically on this big like peace mission now. Like, hey, we promise we're done with that sacrificing thing. We're really sorry about that shit. If it's still happening, it's these other guys. That's the Shadow Karja. That's their name. The Shadow Karja, they're bad. We're against them. We don't like those guys either. So, you know, whatever. But yeah, he's the new Sun King. What ends up happening is, okay, so the guy with the handlebar mustache, whose name I can't remember, and people are probably screaming at me his name right now. I'm really bad with video game character names. Basically, his sister is from another tribe. I can't remember that tribe's name, but they're from like the colder parts of the planet,
the Banuk
world. The Banuk, yes, that's it.
I remember that because they're a big part of Frozen Wilds, and that's
Frozen
the last
Wilds,
thing I did.
I believed it. Yeah. I had a feeling that was their DLC for the most part. But anyway, the Banuk. So they're like kind of like what's the term I'm looking for? The U.S. ambassadors. They're kind of like ambassadors for that tribe to them, and they're kind of like, are close advisors and stuff like that. And basically he becomes really close with that guy's sister, who then gets kidnapped by another guy who's in the Banuk, who's kind of gone rogue. And basically, they kind of kidnap her and torture her with this like sound that they find until like it's like this like shrieking noise, and they keep her in this like prison, and they like play it on repeat. And basically, when you find her, she's like near death, and it's really sad because you're with the guy, and he basically says goodbye to his sister. It was sad,
and that's what I was remembering. So the king like ends up again. He falls for Aloy too. Everybody falls for Aloy, but
it seems like it.
But there's a point where she's like, "You just lost your love. Like, don't you think that you need to take some time?" Yeah, and like she was just very matter of fact. Like, look, like, and she was like, maybe in the future there's a possibility, but you got to handle your shit, and I've got stuff to do. And I just loved that about her. Like everything about her is just really cool.
She's a great character.
One of the things that I really love about the world of Horizon, and it's something we'll get into it because I really want to talk about like the big
absolutely.
It's not even really a twist, but when you find out why the world is the way it is, I was like really blown away. But the fact that there isn't really a delineation between race, like it's not a thing in this world. There's a delineations between tribes because the tribes are kind of like location based. But so there are differences there, but within each tribe, there's a rainbow of people. And they're all equals. And I thought that was really interesting. And it makes sense when you find out like why the world is the way it is. But I just thought that was really cool. Like that is not what is dividing these people. And really, it's not even necessarily like because other than like the shadow cards, the tribes aren't really at each other's throats. They just have different ways. It really comes down to like how they perceive the world and the humans' relationship to the machines. Right. Like the Banuk very much worship the machines as like these spiritual beings. And so that plays in really heavily to like their religion and the way that they, just view the world. And I thought all of that stuff was really cool. Now I did for it being like such a strong, like female lead, I was a little bit bummed. Like so many of the tribes are like, a woman, like there's a lot of that and it's like, really guys, like, there's a lot of badass women in this game. Why are you all so shocked when there's like Aloy doing all this neat stuff? Like there's other women doing neat stuff too. Like
right, yeah. I didn't even really notice anybody doing that. I guess I just kind of like I get in my own little world sometimes when it comes to like the sexism thing. And
it may be because you didn't do as much of it. Like it's very present in like the Hunter storyline. Like if you go all the way through the Hunter's Lodge.
Okay. That makes sense. I didn't go through any of that stuff. So yeah, I did the very first one. I tried it. I failed it. And I said, well, never doing any of these. I just didn't do them. I didn't like them. I was like, I think I'm that kind of gamer where if I find something not fun, I just don't do it. And I was just like, I just don't care. Like I'll skip that. Maybe I'll go back to it if I wanted, but I don't think I really will. Now, I found the same things interesting as you. I really liked the overall story. I love how Aloy as a character learns all this like real deep, insane things of why the world is the way it is and who she actually is and all this other stuff, and never really holds it against like her own tribe is like very like primitive in their ways. Like they're like, I want to compare them to almost like really super religious people.
Oh yeah.
Like, super Christian almost, but like not so much that they're obviously their own thing, but they are very like heavily into the gods and
isolationists and
yes. Yeah. And she like despite coming and she's been like banned from them the entire time. Like they all were like dicks to her the entire time. She was born as an outcast because she came from the mountain or whatever. And even after she learns all this stuff because she becomes the Seeker and gets to go into all the forbidden places and all this stuff and learn all the shit, she never once really holds it against them for thinking the way they do and never fucks with their beliefs ever. She's like, there's a key moment at the end of the game where basically she finds where she was born at and like learns a big thing from Gaia, who's like a big AI person. We're going full spoilers here, so there you go. Yeah, she learns from like Gaia that like basically she's a clone of this woman who was basically trying to save the planet and found the only way to save it was not save it.
Yeah.
It was like she basically went, we're fucked. So listen, this is the plan. We're going to basically shelter in and let the world die, and we will schedule a thing to make it kind of all come back eventually, and we'll have this AI set up to kind of let people do their own thing, and that's hopefully that's the only way we can save it, because it's gone. Like, there is no coming back from this. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny that the guy was from Salt Lake City, Utah. I kept wondering where the game was based too. It's based around Arizona. Eventually, you kind of figured that out.
I mean, it goes through a bunch of places, because there's definitely some Colorado in there.
In the is there Rockies in Arizona? I feel like there is, because if you're in the mountains, it will get cold almost no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that it's right by the desert definitely leads me to believe that it's somewhere around in Arizona. There is desert in Utah. For 100% sure. I know that. I live there. And there's definitely like a lot of mountains. A lot of the scenery reminded me of that place, actually.
Well, it's kind of like a truncated version, sort of like Death Stranding, because I think in the Frozen Wilds, that area, you end up in Yosemite.
Oh, so yeah, you're in Wyoming. Okay, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Wyoming is like right above Utah. So yeah, that would definitely make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, my geology is a little bit on there. Yeah, or geography, whatever. But anyway, yeah, she finds out this stuff from Gaia that she's basically like kind of a clone of this woman who basically set all this stuff up, because turns out one of the AIs is really bad, and gotta stop him because he's doing some real bad shit. And we don't know what to do, so Gaia was like, well, this is my last resort. I'm just going to make this person again, because they'll know what to do. And so they make her, and like, she learns all this stuff, and she gets out, and basically they start like praising her from like going into this thing to speak with the goddess and all this stuff, and she never goes, hey, let me blow your fucking mind real quick. She never does any of that.
Right.
She could totally do it. Like, you're all fucking stupid and wrong. Here's what's happening. She never does it. She's like, no, this is what you believe in. You guys are living your lives. It's cool. Like, I always love
But
that.
there is one line, and I don't know if you got it, because it might have been in the Hunter's Lodge quest, but there's one line that was really powerful that I always remembered. But she says, ever since that I left my homeland, everybody calls me Aloy of the Nora, Aloy of the Nora. I'm Aloy in spite of the Nora, because, all my life, like, I was just like an outcast, and, but now I'm Aloy of the Nora, and that's not who I am. It's like, oh shit, that's
I do
hardcore.
remember that. I do remember that line. I can't remember where that's at though. I know it's towards the end though, and it's a fantastic line. She's a fantastic character. Yeah, learning about all the stuff that happened in like the past, and basically like almost modern times. It's really interesting the way they set all that stuff up.
Dude, it fucked me up, because like, as you're going through the game, like, you're uncovering like bits of, like you're finding relics from the past, and it's really neat, because like there's like an antique guy who will take stuff and pay you for it, and it's silly stuff like mugs and stuff, they don't even know what it's for. And you're wondering why like so much has been lost, but also like why do the records that you keep running across like seem to only go up to like 2050 or something like that? Like, where's the future stuff? Because clearly this is far in the future. And then as you get deep into the game, you realize that there was the clawback decade, where basically scientists said, oh fuck, if we don't do something right now, the world's going to end because of climate change. And they were able to keep the world from ending because of climate change through robots, right? Like, basically the robots cleaned up the planet.
Yeah.
Then the robots started to really clean up the planet, as we all know happens when you build robots, that every bit of science fiction has taught us.
They started turning them into weapons, basically. They started like kind of selling some of them to the military, and then what ended up happening was there was a glitch that made them all basically evil and start doing the Skynet thing.
Yeah.
Is basically the best way to describe it. And so you made robots that can reproduce and do all this other stuff and feed off of basic organic material. Yeah, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, and so, they start fighting the robots thinking that they can win this war, but then Aloy's ancestor, I forget the doctor's name, but her...
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Elizabeth, so I can't remember her last name, but Elizabeth. Yeah.
Her and then kind of the head of the corporation who created the robots.
Oh, that guy's the worst.
He is the worst, but like...
the worst. But I loved how bad he was. He was such a dick.
Yeah. So the fact that they realize, okay, the world is going to end, and like you said, the best thing that we can do is like let the robots basically cull everything, because once they finish that, their purpose will be done, and then we'll create this really advanced AI to basically like kickstart the planet from the beginning again, and then once the planet is habitable again, then, we can start like basically like genetically creating human life again. And then, while they're in these bunkers, basically, they'll be taught by AI like all the history of mankind, and then we'll go out into the world, and then they can live. And, also it explains why the robots look like animals, because they serve specific purposes.
Yes.
These robots till the land, these robots clean the water. It all makes sense. Like it's really cool the way all of that works, but it's like you realize, shit, like the world ended. Like this isn't just a post-apocalypse. This is like a post-end, like literal end of the world, like down to the microbe, right? Like everything dies, and then they bring it back through like basically like genetic like storage or whatever. But then I don't remember his name, but yeah, that guy he takes it upon himself, and he's like, you know what? We don't want to saddle our descendants with the mistakes of their ancestors. So I'm just going to delete all of the data, all of the known history that we were going to teach these people.
It's even darker than that, because basically what happens. So the part, I don't know if you remember, you probably do, because it's pretty deep. Basically what they do is they set up this whole program where they are going to get the best of the best scientists, and they basically bring them into this place to, they give them an interview, and they basically say, hey, guess what? Everything we've been telling you that we're going to win this war, that's all lies. And the guy who's leading that campaign is the one telling them that. And you go to the place where this is basically what they're telling. And so they get the best of the best in there. Like all these people are like the best of this field. Like one's in education, one's in this, and they start building these programs. Like there's Gaia, there's Hades, which is the one that goes bad. It has like a good premise to it, but like, they never quite explain how it went bad, or maybe they do and I just missed it. I've always been kind of curious about that, or it just thought everything went bad and never corrected itself. It's tough to tell, but there's like one for education, one for this field, one for this field, one for this field, and it goes on and on. They're all like based on actual like mythic gods. Yeah. So basically all these scientists are in charge of their own thing. The guy who makes Hades is actually pretty funny to me, because he's like this weird Texas dude who loves horror stuff, and I don't know why, he's just over the top and funny to me. And he's not a bad guy. Like you can tell he's not a bad guy. He's like, they don't like fully like him, but he's not like evil or anything like that. He doesn't have that intent. But basically what happens is it's basically Judgment Day. Everything's done. We've done all we can do. Now we just have to sit in our bunkers and wait out the end of the world. It's the end. We're just going to live out the rest of our days in this bunker. We're going to die and nothing. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the end. It ends up, there's like a glitch that they can't open the door, or they can't close the door fully. So basically it will allow people to get in. So Elizabeth goes out, fixes it herself, realizing that she can't get back in. And basically that's her end. You basically get to hear her end. And you get to kind of see this little memorial where all these guys that were, she basically recruited are like leaving all their thoughts on her and all this stuff. And basically from that point, that guy starts to go a little bit nuts, and he's basically like asking for updates and all this shit. And like basically she was the one keeping that guy in check.
Yeah.
Because she was the one he trusted because he knew basically that she was smarter than he was. And he didn't trust these other people. So eventually he basically gets them all in this conference room, locks all the doors, and then sucks all the oxygen out of the room and kills them all.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fucked up. And like you get in the room and like all the air rushes out. And I loved, we haven't mentioned this character. He's super important.
Silas?
I forget his Silas. Yeah. That guy was fantastic.
Lance Henrik, by the way, that I forgot you were playing Horizon. So when I mentioned him, or Lance Reddick, when I mentioned him like last episode, that's him.
Okay.
Yeah, the one who's in John Wick,
fantastic.
and he's in Quantum Break and all sorts of cool stuff.
I loved him as a character as well. He was really great. But yeah, he's like, that wasn't oxygen air coming out of the room. That was air going into the room. And you're like, oh shit. Like, fucking, yeah, you see all the skeletons and basically hear the final message of this guy just like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't give all this knowledge to these other people because they'll just fuck it up. Like, you know, that's bad. We shouldn't do that. We don't need to save the world. Just let it die. And it's like, oh man, that's kind of what we're doing. We're letting it die, but we're trying to do a good thing for people that come after. It
is like that part for me is like the part that kind of hit me the most, because just the idea that like all of the knowledge of man, because you know, like they were creating like a vast database in order to like teach the future generation of humans all of that language, all of that history, all of that math and science just gone, right?
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of that game that got me really choked up, but the thing that got me the most was actually in the Frozen Wilds DLC, because there's a guy who's basically, he creates this shrine in like one of the, you realize it's Yosemite National Park at some point, but it's in like this, like one of the museum parts, and the building's almost destroyed, but he's asking you to bring these figurines that he's seen. And you realize very, very quickly that at some point, all of these species were extinct even before like the end. And so they're like these figurines that you put them on a pedestal and it would create a hologram of these animals so that you could see them, right? Like a virtual zoo. So, you know, there's like a black bear and a moose and, you know, like a few others, and he doesn't know anything about them. Cause that's another thing about the world of Horizon. And I really recommend the no clip documentary about Horizon. It's really fascinating. Cause one of the things that I didn't realize when I was playing it, but they very purposefully kept the actual live animals small. So there's no horses, right? Like there's nothing bigger than like, I think, a pig. Okay. So, you know, you're bringing him these figures, and so like you bring him the moose, right? And he thinks the moose is like this fearsome, or no, I'm sorry, not the moose. You bring him, I think, a stag, and he thinks that it's a fearsome predator because of the horns on its head, right? Like he thinks those are like weapons, right? Yeah. And so then you bring him the black bear, and he thinks the black bear must be this like domesticated beast of burden. And it's like, I started to cry because I was like, just the idea of like that knowledge being completely gone, like not even like just completely gone, right? And then I think it was right around that time that I was starting to kind of like pay more attention to like the climate change stuff, and it's like the fact that like 2 years after this game came out, like scientists now are like, hey, guess what? We've got a decade, and it's like they told me that shit in Horizon. Fuck! Like it's happening. Nice. Yeah, it affected me in a really profound way, and again, I think the character is amazing. I think all the characters are really great. Like,
yeah, I do too.
And the thing is like I'm really excited for a sequel, but also, and this is the same thing with Death Stranding, I want to know what's going on in Europe and Japan, you know, because like that's the thing is like in Death Stranding, like there's a lot of people who are like, we're not even sure if the rest of the world is having the same problems as we are. Like, we have no way of knowing. Like, they could be fine, you know, like, they just don't know. And it's like, yeah, what the hell's going on? Like, you know, because the thing is that, you know, so all of that knowledge was erased. So when the AI brought humanity back, it was trying to teach them as best it could with very limited resources. and eventually ran out of resources. And it was like, okay, we can't help you anymore. Go out unto the world. And the people were like, well, what are we supposed to do? And the AI is like, I don't know, man, survive.
Yeah, that is a strong part. Yeah, when they're basically releasing these like adolescent kids into the world, pretty much. And the AI is like, good luck, I guess. And the kids are like, okay, well, this is cool. We hate being here because they're only in this like one room or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, so that would be miserable and all this stuff. And yeah, but it's, you feel for everybody in that game. It's a really good game, man.
But to finish my point, like, so and that's how, you know, all these different tribes, cause you know, they're coming out of different holes in the ground basically throughout the country. And so based on where they come out, like that's kind of how they form these tribes and the way that they see the world and everything. So like, what about in Canada or, you know, England or wherever? Like, there's other people who were doing the same thing, I'm sure. How like, what are those civilizations like? Like, is there a situation where they rediscover sea travel? Or do we just like set another game with another character across the world? I don't know, but I just think that like that whole concept is super interesting.
Yeah. When it comes to Horizon, I feel like you can make a sequel. I feel like you can't stray away from Aloy. I feel like she's kind of your chosen one in that aspect. Like
Sure.
She can definitely travel like throughout, and you could definitely explain like how she got to like a Europe too, because like obviously the world went through a ton of changes, so you can definitely, you know, make some like, there's a bridge or there's a land bridge now
Sure,
that
yeah.
you can get there or something like that. It wouldn't be hard. Death Stranding, on the other hand, you're right. I don't know what's going on in the other parts of the world. That being said, I hope Kojima just kind of moves on to a different thing.
I'm not suggesting that there should be a Death Stranding sequel.
Yeah, okay,
I
all
want
right.
that to be a one and done thing.
Yeah, I don't. I was gonna say I'm not the biggest fan of that game, but I don't hate it either, and I like it as a one shot. I think it's a great one shot, and I think it concludes its story in a way that I was like, yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Like that's the end. Like you should never do another one.
I feel that it would cheapen the original game to make a sequel, sort of like with BioShock, where it's like I didn't really need a BioShock 2, you know.
Last of Us.
Last
Last of Us does not need a fucking sequel. God. I know the game looks amazing.
I'm sure it'll be great. I'm
sure
going to
it'll be
play
a good
it.
game. I'm with you. I'm with you 100. I may not play it because it's probably scary. But I'm sure it'll be great. But that story was so good on its own. It concluded perfectly. They did not need another one. I know you have to do it for money reasons. I get it. I understand. But damn, man, like that's one. If they would have never made another one, I'd be like, cool. That's awesome. That's it. It's good.
Yeah.
Good. Don't make another one. Horizon, I want a sequel to. Horizon, there's so much more to learn about the world. And like, obviously there's like a big end credit stinger where like Hades shows up again and is in Silence's control and all that stuff. And it's obviously setting up for something down the line. That's pretty cool. The main bad guy of that game is like just an evil dude. I don't know. I kind of found him a little bit lame because I didn't really think his intentions were that great.
I don't actually remember the bad guy.
Yeah, see, exactly. That's the thing.
Is he the leader of the Shadow Carja?
Yeah, he's so basically he's the guy that kills Aloy's father or father figure or whatever. I can't remember that guy's name.
Well, it's Roast or
Rust.
Rust,
Yeah,
but
so-
it's supposed to like it's Rust. You know, it's just like Aloy is like alloy. You know,
Alloy, yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that reminds me of dumb naming conventions. Coffee Talk. I forgot to mention fucking Lua and Bailey's. Get it? They're alcohols that go with fucking coffee. Do you get it? Yes, I fucking get it. It's stupid. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, this one makes more sense in the world because it's like, oh yeah, they got it off of metals because it makes sense with the machine thing. Yeah, they don't fully understand this. It's totally, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love you know, I like the way that the weapons are designed and the armor, like the way that it's like pieces of the machines and you know, they don't really understand the way it works, but they've also created. That's another thing too, is that I like post-apocalypse stuff where it's actually like, oh no, these aren't people living in like ruins, like scrounging for like scraps. This is now a new civilization that has risen up from the ashes, right? Like
Yeah.
they've got elevators, right? Like they've got really cool, like primitive technology by our comparisons. But for them, it's like, wow, yeah, this is amazing. Like the Sun City, it's this massive, beautiful city. And then there's like a lower village where like they're doing like agriculture and stuff. And it's like,
Right.
this is amazing. Like I can't believe like how well this all fits together and it makes sense. And it's, oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super good.
Yeah.
I do hate that elevator though. It takes
It's
way
slow.
too long to get up to you.
Yeah.
It's so slow. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you loading?
And one last thing that I do want to say, and I think I mentioned it before, but like I fell in love with the photo mode in that
Oh
game.
yeah, I don't play around with photo modes though. So like, but yeah, I've seen some of the shots you posted when you were playing it back in the day, and I remember they did look really good. So
and other games have tried to do photo modes, but none of them have come as close have come close to what Horizon did. One of the things is that like the plethora of poses that she has and like the facial expressions, like you can really do a lot of amazing things with that. And honestly, like I would have paid for like some like photo mode DLC, like just like more poses and stuff, because like
right.
I think that stuff is really cool. Like you can kind of do it in God of War with Kratos, but there it's kind of dumb because it's like Kratos doesn't, you can give him this big old dopey smile and it's like, okay, but like Spider-Man did it all right.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't mess with photo modes, but yeah, Spider-Man was. I think I took like a picture at some point, and I was like, neat.
Yeah, I mean,
that was pretty much
for
it.
me with like the lighting and just, I mean, because some of the locations in Horizon are just so beautiful, and then like
they are nice.
You know, when you get the sun just right over this hill or something like that, and again, like I did photography in high school, and it's been a hobby of mine for years, so it's like. Right. Well, I don't really get a chance to take pictures anymore in real life, but man, this is really scratching that itch.
I mean, yeah, I have modded photo mode stuff into Skyrim before just for funsies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun thing to mess around with. Yeah, especially if you have like a plethora of stuff you can use on it. But yeah, it's a great game. Great game.
Yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I do recommend Frozen Wilds. Like, I think it's worth the add-on. Like it's
right.
The story is really good.
I have it.
Oh, okay.
I bought like the complete edition or whatever. That was like, it was like $15 for the whole
awesome.
package or whatever. Yeah.
Play
so
that.
I do have it. I might get back to it. There's still some stuff I didn't do in that game that I kind of like. I mainlined it a lot. I won't even lie to you. I tend to do that with games because I very quickly identified that I was like, especially after the Hunter stuff, I was like, well, I'm probably just not going to do everything on here, and I'm fine with that. Like I did a lot of like every time I seen a green question mark, which is the side quest stuff, I would go to that and do it every time. But there was just a lot of stuff where I was like, I don't feel like I need to do all these forges. Like it's just like,
yeah. But I would say if you at least did the side quests, like because a lot of that stuff was really good. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. But yeah, I will say, like, in conclusion, we were talking about the bad guy. I didn't get the Shadow Carja leader guy. He's basically trying to revive all the old machines that want to kill the world or whatever.
Oh, okay, that's right. I do remember that now.
Yeah, that was his deal. That was what made him bad, but he's kind of lame. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's fine because like it's not really about that. It's more about Aloy's journey. That's really the entire story. Like that guy's just kind of like, you need a guy to have a big fight with at the end.
Yeah.
So we need this character. So it was fine, but like, yeah. And also he tied into Silas too, because Silas was with those guys and, he basically split off from them because he was like, no, those motherfuckers are crazy. They're going down doing some wild shit. And he was like, I'm not about that. I just want to learn weird stuff. I just want to know all I can. Yeah. I'm a knowledge man. Not
to, try to oversell it, but you do learn a lot about Silas in the Frozen Wilds DLC because that's where he comes from. He's from the Banuk.
Oh.
So.
Okay. All right. Okay. You're maybe after I finish Saints Row 3, I gotta finish that first, but
Oh, dude, you're making me want to play Saints Row 3 again. It's not, they didn't like release a like HD or not HD, but they didn't remaster it, right? It's just backwards compatible.
No, it's just backwards compatible.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Oh, sure.
I said,
it
that game still looks good. Yeah, it still looks good. It still plays well. Yeah, like you still get achievements for it, which is cool because I played through that game before and I did a lot of shit in that game. I don't know if I like 100%ed it, but I know I played it for a long time. But I didn't have the internet when I played it.
Oh.
So I didn't get any. That's like, if you ever look at any of my gamer scores, you're like, how the fuck this guy plays so much shit? How does it? So I never had the internet until like this gen. Like, this is the first gen where I've actually been like, internet, yay! So yeah, now I'm getting all my points for all this stuff. It's fun.
Nice.
But yeah. Anyway, in conclusion, Horizon Zero Dawn, good game.
Yes.
Liked it.
No, yeah, I'm really glad that because I thought you were gonna dig it if you finally got around to playing it. I've been trying to get Patrick to play it I'm surprised that he hasn't picked that one up yet. Like, I feel like for him, it's like he needs to play that. He needs to play God of War, even though I'm not a big fan of it, but I think he would enjoy it.
I thought he did play. God of War.
Wait, he did. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was Horizon and Spider-Man. Those are the two where I'm like, why haven't you played these yet, Patrick?
If I was gonna recommend a game to Patrick, we should do this every episode. If I was gonna recommend a game to Patrick, it'll be our segment at the end of the show. What game are we recommending to Patrick today? I would be like, you should play Kentucky Route Zero, because that is a thing I could see you being into.
Yeah.
Like, because of all the writing and stuff, and I know he likes writing, and like, that game is out there. It's in his wheelhouse. I feel like he'd dig that. He was the one I thought most of when I was playing that game. I was like, man, I wish Patrick was here on the show more often, because I totally like, dude, you got to play this shit. You would love it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a show, Justin.
That sounds like a podcast to me. I think so.
Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up. Oh shit.
Big money! Big prizes! I love it!
Sorry. I meant to do this like way earlier, but yeah.
Oh, you can edit it in.
Smash TV guy just came in right at the clutch. Normally he doesn't come in this late, but hey, he's been off for a while, and he wait, what? Okay, so he just revealed to me the secret code phrase this week, and it is Yoshi. That is the secret code phrase of the week. That, of course, if you know the Yoshi language, is Yoshi for "How are you?" That
is that the okay?
Yeah,
all right, I'm learning new things all the time.
Yeah, you want it. So there is a Nintendo Power Super Mario World comic that came out, and I have the collected version, and they buy a Yoshi translating guide from this like swindler salesman, and everything is just Yoshi. So yeah, it's a thing.
Sense.
But yes,
it checks out.
Just DM us that secret code phrase on Twitter at NWPcast. If you're on Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/nerdswithoutpants podcast and send a message there, and I'll get you entered. And that'll get you entered for a chance to win a copy of Yoshi's Crafted World for the Switch. Thanks, Smash TV guy.
Good luck! You'll need it!
Hooray, you made it.
We made it. And in addition to that, don't forget that for the next episode for the Stage Select, I want to know your top 3 games of the last decade. They need to be ranked 3 to 1. No runners-ups, and keep in mind that a decade is a really long-ass time. So just keep that in mind. Think about it.
So I'm pretty sure it's H Rescue. Kododama, the Seven Mysteries of Fujisawa. That's probably number 1, right? I mean,
it's gotta be.
Real. It's gotta be. I mean, yeah.
And then of course, Coldstep Saga, like the
Coldstep Saga. Maybe I didn't play Coldstep Saga though.
Didn't you hear Angelo? Everybody played Coldstep Saga. It's
okay,
because
right.
It's such an overrated game.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I forgot. I did. You know what? It's so good that it erased my memory at the end of it that I totally did play that game.
Got him.
Maybe Coldstep. Or maybe Sexy President. I don't know, man. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. A lot to think.
You got some time. You got a couple weeks.
I got time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Once again, we are going to want those Stage Select comments by 8:30 Central Time on February 21st. And continue to submit bookings for Video Game Cage Match, because that's coming back very soon. Got some really good bookings suggested to us on the last episode. Keep them coming. We can always use them. And I also have some special Cage Match related stuff on the horizon. No pun intended. Consider rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts. If you write a review, let me know, and I will read it on the air. If it's not with Apple Podcasts, just kind of screenshot it and send it to me, and I'll read it.
don't cuss in the review or else Apple Podcasts will delete it. I learned that at some point.
Yeah, I always get worried of, like, you know, I've come close a couple of times with, like, ooh, is the title of this episode gonna get flagged? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I just released an episode of my podcast where I bleeped out the last word, and I was even worried about it. I was like, maybe this won't play well, but I have to talk about Show Bitch. It's just so dumb that I can't not put it in the title.
And speaking of which, what is going on at the bottom of the page, Justin?
Well, I don't know what's happening our next episode. I haven't gotten that far. We took a little bit of time off because my sister got sick, but we did come back just last week and we talked about Show Bitch. Have we introduced you to her, Julian? She's great. Show Bitch, Julian, Show Bitch. We were talking about ridiculous names for things, ridiculous names for anime and ridiculous names for cars. It was a pretty good episode, I thought. It was pretty neat. I liked it a lot.
We didn't get around to talking anime this episode, but I think we will next episode because I've been watching a couple where I didn't realize it at the time, but they're actually showing them on Hulu right after they air in Japan, and so the actual translated titles of the shows are friggin' ridiculous because it's literally like the Japanese to English translation, and it's like, this is a stupid title, but I understand why now.
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm always down to talk about anime. For some reason that's the one media that holds my interest. I don't know. I think it may be the subtitles actually. Reading it, like I've actually gotten into like kind of reading them as subtitles because like it makes me pay attention a lot more and I don't drift off. That's usually what turns me off of like watching stuff.
Oh, interesting, because playing Judgment dubbed is what got me like more invested in the story because I wasn't having to because there's something about all those Japanese names and reading them and trying to like in my head like remember who that's supposed to be, where if I just hear them talking about those characters, somehow that actually makes it like stick more. When I played Judgment, I had subtitles on and the English voiceover. So, like, if I missed a word or whatever, I'd hear it read out. And I was kind of reading along as it was playing, and that would always keep me invested in it. So, like, I think that's a thing with me. Like, I think that's why I like to play video games more than I like to watch stuff, because, like, I found that reading the stuff actually, like, keeps me engaged with it. So, yeah, that's probably why I don't mind watching anime. So, yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
And I will happily talk your ear off about how good Boogie Pop Phantom is.
Yes,
any day of the week.
and I've got some Dragon Ball Super and My Hero Academia and Bo Fury. I don't want to get hurt, so I'm going to put all of my stats into defense. That's the actual title of the show. It's fantastic.
Why wasn't that on the list we looked up for that thing? That sounds weird and dumb.
Well, It just started this year.
Oh, that's why. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, got it.
All right, well, that is going to do it for this episode of Nerds Without Pants. Thank you for everybody for listening. I like it when we get to just like unload a bunch of games like this. It's a lot of fun.
Indeed.
But I'm really looking forward to our next state select because I'm going to have to do some soul searching. I've got my first one locked in, but the other two, I have no idea. I really got to go back and look.
I know one that's on there for sure, but yeah, I'm with you. There's a couple I'm like, that's 2 slots that I don't know, and I'll probably think of something in between there.
So, well, I mean, you'd better, because like that, otherwise there isn't a show.
Oh, I will. I think, hopefully.
All right, but that is going to do it for this episode. So for myself and Justin, thanks for listening. And keep it pants.
Oh, hey, we didn't talk about where you can find us on Twitter.
Oh shit, man, I'm so out of practice. You're absolutely right. Where can people find you on the internet, Justin?
You can find me at Tyrone_Swift, or you can tweet my other podcast at Clickbait Update.
And you can find me at Julian_Titus, and you can find the show at NWPcast. Think that's it? I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
I feel like that's the end.
All right.
Okay, we got there.
All right. So thanks for listening, everybody. And keep it yeah, keep it.
As we say every episode.
Just keep it pantsless. That thing that I do when we leave the show, that's what I'm saying right now. Goodbye.
Yes, goodbye.
Oh, it turned into a real shit show at the end.
Oh, dude, have you heard my outros from fucking Clickbait? Jesus Christ. Sam is so good at derailing me.
by your side 君のそばであの世世界中の誰もができれば僕は味方さ I'll be by your side because I am your son I'll be by your side because 僕の名前は